Welcome to Reddit Stories, where a wild Karen will do absolutely anything to get famous. Karen demanded I help her get famous on YouTube. It did not end well for her. I'm 30, male. I've been doing YouTube for over a decade. I started back when it was all about passion and creativity. No fancy setups, no automation, just people sharing what they loved. Over the years, I built up 2 channels, one in history and one doing tech reviews. I was never a mega star, but I made a decent living. Good months covered everything comfortably. Not rich, not broke, just sustainable. But about 6 months ago, I hit a wall. It wasn't burnout or losing interest. I still loved creating. The problem was the rise of AI-generated spam. Suddenly, the platform was flooded with these mass-produced videos in every niche, stitched together with robotic voices and AI-generated scripts. And these videos weren't hidden, they were everywhere. YouTube's algorithm pushed them hard, drowning out authentic creators like me. My income tanked. I went from paying my bills through YouTube to barely covering my internet. I took up Uber driving just to stay afloat. I tried to keep my channels alive for fun, but my heart wasn't in it anymore. It felt like I was shouting into a void. Then came my cousin. Let's call her Karen. She's always been the golden child. Never really had to work for anything, just stumbled into opportunities. One day, she called me out of nowhere. She had found an online ad for an AI tool that promised instant YouTube fame. She was convinced that it was the future. "You gave up because you didn't have what it takes anymore," she said. "You should be helping me build my channel with this AI stuff." I told her no, straight up. I explained how these AI tools are hurting the platform, how real creators are quitting in droves because they can't compete with 100 spammy channels pumping out 1,000 videos a day. It's breaking the algorithm. Even YouTube said they would demonetize these channels, but they haven't followed through. Karen wasn't having it. "People who succeed don't whine about the game. They play it smarter. If AI's the way in, I'm using it. You should be too." I tried to warn her. I told her most of that content breaks YouTube's terms. Sure, it gets views, but the channels don't last. They get demonetized or banned. But by then, the spammers have already moved on to the next batch. It's like whack-a-mole. Karen told me that I was just bitter. "I don't care about rules. I care about money. This is a business, not a hobby." I told her good luck and I hung up. A week later, she messaged me a link. Her video had over 100,000 views. It was some AI-generated trash titled something like, "Why You Will Probably Die in a Hurricane." The voiceover was one of those overly intense, fake deep narrations paired with creepy background music and AI footage that looked like it came from those movies that tank at the box office. But the worst part was the lies. The video claimed something like 1 in 20 people will die in a hurricane during their lifetime. Total fiction. No sources. Nothing accurate. I scrolled the comments. People were freaking out. "I had no idea hurricanes were this common. This just gave me so much anxiety. I can't stop shaking." The top replies were full of people saying they regretted watching it. A few tried to correct the lies, but they were drowned out by the panic. My heart dropped. This is what's being rewarded now? Not thoughtful creators, not actual value, just manipulative junk meant to scare people. Out of curiosity, I checked her channel. She was uploading over 20 of these a day. Every title was designed to trigger fear. "The hidden killer in your tap water. The government is lying about your sleep. Foods that will kill you before 50. Many had only a few thousand views, but some were already in the tens of thousands. The hurricane video had just been posted the day before. I called her on Facebook. "Congrats on going viral, I guess," I said. "But seriously, do you feel good about this? You're literally scaring people with fake facts." "I don't care," she said. "This is how the game works now. YouTubers like you lose because you care too much about your audience. I care about revenue." She told me her channel would be eligible any day now to monetize, and that she had already lined up her next batch to mass produce more content. "This is why you're driving Uber and I'm making money," she said. "If creators can't compete, maybe they don't belong on the platform." I didn't argue. There was no point. I just told her I hoped one day she realized the harm that she was doing. A few weeks later, she sent me a screenshot. Her AdSense payout was going to be over $8,000. I couldn't believe it. Even when I'd had a few videos go semi-viral in the past, I never even came close to that. Wow, that's crazy, I messaged back. That was all I could say. I checked her channel again. Now she was diving into fake political content, health conspiracies. The comments were chaos, people fighting, freaking out, spreading more misinformation. I closed the tab. I didn't want to see anymore. A few days later, while I was driving an Uber pickup, my phone buzzed nonstop. It was her. I let it ring, and then finally I picked up. She was panicking. Her channel had been terminated. Not just the channel, her entire Google account. That meant her AdSense too. She hadn't even been paid yet. I've emailed like 10 times. They keep sending the same stupid response, saying the decision's final. There's no one I can talk to. What do I do? I paused for a second. Dang, that really sucks. You have to help me. Come on, you've been on YouTube forever. I told her again, calmly this time, that I had warned her. Spam, deception, fear baiting, it all catches up. The algorithm might reward it for a while, but YouTube's policies are clear. If you trick the system, it'll shut you down eventually. She exploded, called me useless, accused me of being jealous, said she hated me, and hung up. I sat in the car for a while just thinking. I checked her channel. Gone. The whole thing. Just a message saying the account had been terminated. And weirdly, I felt relieved. Not for her downfall, but because maybe, just maybe, this was a sign that YouTube isn't entirely broken. That maybe they really are trying to clean things up. So I've decided to start posting again. Not across all my old channels, just 2. I'm not going in with high hopes. I know the road ahead won't be easy, but if there's even a small chance that real creators can thrive again, I don't want to miss it. Because no matter how easy AI makes it to fake everything, there's still something powerful about real people being authentic. And if we stop showing up, the whole platform loses something human it may never get back. I'm so glad her channel got taken down. Honestly, those kinds of videos are doing real harm. My elderly parents fall for them constantly. I've tried explaining that the info is fake, that it's just AI junk meant to scare people and rack up views, but they always say, well, you can't prove it's fake, or there's nothing wrong with watching it. Meanwhile, they turn around and repeat the nonsense to their friends, neighbors, even me. It's exhausting. These spam channels are not harmless. They're spreading fear and confusion, and it's about time YouTube started holding them accountable. As a small creator myself, it's legit heartbreaking. I spend hours crafting one quality video with actual research and editing, and it gets buried under 50 AI-generated junk clips that took someone 10 minutes to pump out. I'm glad this story ended how it did. It gives me a sliver of hope that maybe quality will matter again someday. I actually got caught up in one of those AI channels recently. At first, I thought it was amazing. The videos were fast-paced, dramatic, and weirdly addictive. I'd watch them late at night, just scrolling through autoplay. It even became one of my favorite channels for a few weeks. But then I started noticing how off the information was. Some of the facts sounded ridiculous, so I looked a few things up, and yeah, completely made up. Once I realized it was all fake, I actually felt kind of sad, like I'd been tricked. I really wish YouTube had a setting where you could filter out AI-generated content completely. Just let people choose if they want to see it or not. I think they'd quickly realize that most viewers don't actually want that stuff. We want real content, real people, not this endless flood of spam. You know, Karen, justice is a beautiful thing. I hope we see more of it.
Yeah, it's like YouTube handed the mic to 1,000 robots and told all the humans to take a coffee break. Meanwhile, actual people who care about their content are getting pushed to the back row.
Exactly. It's been happening to us too. We've seen it, felt it, lived it. But if this story opened your eyes, even a little, if it helped you see how real this issue actually is,
then honestly, the most powerful thing you can do is just send this video to a friend. It might not seem like much, but waking people up one by one, that's how we turn this ship around.
Because if we don't speak up, the bots will gladly speak for us. Am I the jerk for threatening to take my sister to court after her toddler destroyed my $2,000 gaming setup? Hi Reddit, I'm honestly at my breaking point with this one. I need outside perspective because my entire family is acting like I'm the villain for standing my ground. So I, female 25, live alone in a small one-bedroom apartment. It's an older building, and at some point, a deep closet was converted into a tiny office. I'm a student developer, and gaming is both my hobby and my way to unwind. Over time, I built what I consider my dream PC setup. It felt like a personal milestone. 3 monitors, a custom mechanical keyboard, an ergonomic chair, and a tower I saved up for piece by piece. Altogether, the rig is worth just over $2,000, and I take care of it like it's my actual child. Last weekend, my sister, who's 30, asked if she could crash at my place for a night. Her apartment was being fumigated, and her husband was out of town. She brought her 3-year-old son, my nephew. I love the kid, but let's just say he's spirited. I made it very clear that the office was off limits. I closed the heavy door and even reminded her. She rolled her eyes but said, "Fine." The next morning, I woke up to noise. The office door was open. One of my monitors was lying face down on the floor with a cracked screen. Keycaps had been ripped off my keyboard. There were marker streaks on my chair, crumbs in the tower vents, and the final straw? Juice had somehow been spilled inside the PC tower. Not just nearby, inside of it. I stood there in total disbelief. When I confronted my sister, she didn't even apologize. She didn't offer to pay. Instead, she told me I should have baby-proofed the apartment. I reminded her that this wasn't a daycare and that I had specifically told her to keep my nephew out of that room. She shrugged and said, "He's 3. He's curious." I kept calm and told her I understood that accidents happen, but she needed to cover the damage. She said she didn't have the money and maybe could give me a few hundred later. I ended up filing a claim with my renter's insurance, but there's a chance it won't be covered since it's considered guest-related damage. I told her that if she refused to pay for repairs or replacement, I'd be taking her to small claims court. That's when she blocked me. Then my phone blew up. Family members started messaging me, accusing me of caring more about screens than people. But her husband reached out privately to ask what happened. I sent him the photos and receipts, and he asked if he could come by to see the setup for himself. I've been replaying the whole thing in my head. That door is heavy. My nephew's smart, but he's small. I genuinely don't know how the door got opened so early in the morning without anyone noticing. Maybe he managed it on his own. Maybe someone didn't close it all the way. I don't want to accuse anyone without proof. What I do want is for my stuff to be fixed. That's not too much to ask. Edit. Wow. 4 hours later, I wake up from my nap to this. Thank you so much, guys. It'll take a bit for me to read all of this. Now to clarify my office situation. The office is a converted closet with a heavy older door and no lock. Snacks and juice were brought by my sister. I had a few hours notice before they arrived and used that to clean and move fragile items up high. I'm not trying to shame a toddler. My ask is that the parent take responsibility for damage in my home. You set a clear boundary. Your sister agreed, then minimized the damage. Asking for repair costs is normal, not heartless. A toddler needs supervision, especially in a home that's not child-proofed. Your family calling you materialistic is a distraction from the real issue. Your space, your rules, your property. Stay factual, keep receipts, and if needed, use small claims. You're not punishing a child. You're asking an adult to step up. Send one final neutral message. Date of stay, damage list, photos, repair estimates, and a firm but polite deadline for payment or a payment plan. No emotion, only facts. If she refuses, file. Courts like clarity and documentation. Also, have your brother-in-law test whether that door can be opened by a 3-year-old. It matters for credibility. I have 2 kids. If my child damages something at a host's house, I pay and apologize. It's basic courtesy. Curiosity doesn't mean consequence-free. Your sister's baby-proofing comment flips responsibility. The visiting parent is responsible for keeping a toddler out of trouble, not the host who lives alone. Update. Last Saturday, my brother-in-law came over to see the damage for himself. He actually brought my nephew with him, which almost made me lose it at first. But he had a reason. He calmly asked my nephew to try opening the office door. The kid pulled, pushed, and gave it his best shot. Nothing. The door is just too heavy. You can probably guess where this is going. After seeing that, my brother-in-law offered to take the PC to the shop that originally built it to see what could be saved. I agreed, but asked if we could write something up. Just a short note saying he'd be responsible for it while it was with him. It was a formality and wouldn't mean much legally, but it gave me peace of mind. On Monday, he dropped it off at the shop and gave them my number for updates. Later that day, he told me he'd confronted my sister about everything. I also sent him my original post and he showed it to her. She hasn't unblocked me, but I've heard she wasn't happy that he's actually listening to me instead of automatically taking her side. I also showed the post to my parents and brother. Before this, none of them really believed me. My parents still don't completely get it, but at least they've stopped arguing. My brother's more on my side now, though for some reason he seemed more fascinated by how many people read the posts than what actually happened. I don't think any of them fully care yet, but that's fine. I'm not waiting around for their validation anymore. Anyway, I went to the shop today. The technician said the computer is mostly salvageable. It needs a deep internal clean, a couple fans replaced, and some wiring fixed. But somehow, the main parts survived. My brother-in-law didn't hesitate. He said he'd cover the full repair cost. When I mentioned how my sister claimed she couldn't even afford a few $100s, he said she's lying. He also said he's not convinced our nephew caused all of the damage. The placement of the cracks, the mess inside the tower, it didn't make sense for a 3-year-old acting alone. He thinks the door was left open intentionally or that my sister might have done more than she admitted. And here's where things get even stranger. Apparently, she's been telling him I have some kind of a gambling addiction. Her exact words were that maybe this whole situation would wake me up. I did spend a bit too much money on a game years ago, but nothing close to what she's describing. It's a random accusation that came out of nowhere. She used to be supportive, or at least indifferent, about my hobbies. So yeah, that's where we're at now. The PC is being repaired, and brother-in-law is covering the costs. My sister still has me blocked. I'm still debating small claims court, depending on how things go. But the thought I can't shake is this. What if she really did it on purpose? I don't want to believe that. It feels too far-fetched. But the more I think about it, the less impossible it sounds. I keep remembering the eye roll when I asked her to keep my nephew out of the office. The "he's just curious" comment. The way she brushed off my concern like I was overreacting. And now, hearing that she's been spreading rumors about me? It's like she's rewriting the whole story to make herself the victim. Maybe she thought I spent too much time on my computer. Maybe she wanted to teach me a lesson. But that's not how you handle things. You talk, you set boundaries. You don't destroy someone's hard-earned setup and blame it on a child. I'm not accusing her outright. I can't. But I can't ignore the way that the pieces line up either. And if she did do it intentionally, it's awful that she'd hide behind her son like that. If by any chance she's reading this, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if she is, then I have no idea why she blocked me, or why she's turned all of this into a battle. But if she really had anything to do with damaging my setup, whether it was out of carelessness or spite, then I hope she understands what that cost me. Not just money, but peace. She knows I would never have done something like that to her. And if it truly was all my nephew, then I hope she's being more careful now. Not for me, but for him. He's a sweet kid who deserves to be safe and supervised. That's all for now. I'm grateful for everyone who weighed in and helped me keep my head straight when I started to doubt myself. It's been a rough week, but at least I'm finally starting to see things clearly. Thanks for reading, and thanks for the support. You got 3 wins: the door test, a pro shop assessment, and a payer who isn't arguing. Don't gloat, stay polite. Document the offer and the invoice. If anyone calls you materialistic again, send a single sentence. Costs are being covered and repairs are in progress. Then stop responding to the drama. Update 2. My sister is spiraling and I don't know how or if I should help. It's been a few weeks since I posted about what happened with my sister and her son staying at my place. A week later, everything exploded. He confronted her. She told him to leave. Not a quiet argument. She threw him out completely. Packed his things, left them by the curb, told him he'd betrayed her and was choosing me over his own wife. He said she shouted things that didn't even make sense, like that he and I were teaming up to humiliate her. She accused him of cheating with me, which was beyond absurd. I still don't understand how her mind even went there. After that, she shut down completely. She cut off contact with nearly everyone. She won't let him see their son. Not a visit, Not a call. She's threatened to call the police if he tries to come near. She's blocked me, our brother, most of our extended family, and now only talks to our parents. They're still trying to defend her, but I think at this point, they're just trying to stay close so they can keep an eye on my nephew. Meanwhile, rumors are spreading that I'm the unstable one. A cousin told me my sister's been saying I made up the whole story and that I lured her son into the office to frame her. It sounds so bizarre that I almost laughed when I first heard it. But then the reality hit. She believes it. Or at least she wants everyone else to. I don't know what's happening to her. I don't know if this is postpartum depression that was never addressed, or stress that's turned into something more serious, or just years of resentment boiling over. But I'm scared. I'm scared for her husband because he's trying to do the right thing, but she's shutting him out. I'm scared for their son because he's caught in the middle of all this chaos. And honestly, I'm scared for myself because she's rewriting the story and turning the family against me. And I don't even know how far she's willing to go to keep it that way. My parents don't want this getting out. They keep saying we should handle it privately, but that's exactly what's been happening for years. Everyone just covers for her, hoping it'll blow over, but it never does. Brother-in-law says he wants to get her professional help, and I want that too. But I have no idea where to start. How do you convince someone who's completely shut you out that they need help? How do you even reach a person who refuses to listen, who blocks everyone trying to care for her? He's mentioned divorce, and I can't blame him. He's told my parents that he'll go through the courts to get custody of his son, no matter what they think. His family is furious with mine, and honestly, I don't even know what side I'm on anymore. Because the truth is, I don't hate my sister. I'm hurt, confused, and angry, but mostly I'm just terrified of what she's becoming. So I'm here asking, how do I help someone who doesn't want to be helped? Who do I even call? Is there anyone in the US I can reach out to for advice when it's not an emergency yet, but clearly heading that way? I feel helpless. She's an adult with her own choices, but I'm scared for her and I'm scared for my nephew. Is there any way to save this, or is it already too far gone? If you're in the US, you can request a court-ordered mental health evaluation if someone seems dangerous. It's called Baker acting in some states. You can start by calling 211 for local mental health services. They'll guide you. That said, this sounds more like a case for your brother-in-law to handle legally. If she's blocking him from seeing their child, he needs an attorney right away to get a temporary custody order. You can love your sister and still protect your nephew. Safety has to come first. She's not letting her husband see their kid, and the only people she talks to are your parents, who clearly aren't facing reality. That's dangerous. It's hard to say, but this sounds serious. You hear about situations where families ignore the signs until it's too late. She needs professional help, and your brother-in-law should act fast. Hoping she'll calm down isn't enough anymore. Someone has to step in for that child's sake. Update 3. The good news first. My computer is fully functional again. The store did an incredible job and everything's running smoothly. It feels strange to sit down and use it again after everything that's happened, but I'm grateful it survived. My nephew is doing well. He's now in a safe and stable environment with my brother-in-law, and from what I've seen, he's a lot calmer and happier. It's a relief to know that he's being taken care of properly. Unfortunately, there have also been some harder developments. Brother-in-law has officially started the process of separation from my sister. I wish things hadn't reached this point, but I understand why it had to happen. As for my own family, it seems like I've been quietly disowned. My mother stopped responding a while ago, and now it looks like my father's followed her lead. The only person still speaking to me is my brother. I'm grateful for that small bit of support, even if the rest of it is gone. There isn't much more to say right now. I'm focusing on work, school, and moving forward. I'm not angry anymore, just tired. And honestly, a little relieved that things are finally out in the open. Thank you to everyone who's checked in or offered support through all of this. It's meant more than you probably realize. Good to hear things are fixed with your computer now, but it's awful that your parents have sided against you. Why would they do that? From what I remember, they only kept contact with your sister so they could see their grandkid. It really sounds like your sister's jealous of your independence and the fact that you've built a good life on your own. She tried to drag you down by destroying something you cared about, and when that didn't work, she made up lies to isolate you. Your brother-in-law believing you probably pushed her over the edge, and your parents enabling her only makes it worse. Keep your distance, stay calm, and focus on your own life. You've done nothing wrong here. Update. When everything first happened, my parents sided with my sister. I was the black sheep for speaking up. But during the legal proceedings, a lot came to light, and they finally realized she wasn't well. They reached out, apologized, and admitted they had been wrong. It's been slow, and part of me still feels hurt that it took this long, but at least we're talking again. I'm still figuring out what kind of relationship they deserve from me after all of this. As for my sister, I hardly know where to begin. During the custody case, she broke down completely. A lot came out about her damaging other people's belongings in the past, friends, coworkers, and she admitted to doing it on purpose. She said it made her feel powerful. She said people ignored her and treated her like she didn't matter, and breaking things forced them to notice her. It explains so much of what happened, not just with my computer, but with her marriage and our family. She wanted to feel seen, but instead of asking for help, she tried to control everything. And when that didn't work, she destroyed it. After she lost custody, things unraveled fast. She had a complete breakdown. She's now in jail, awaiting transfer to a psychiatric facility. I won't share details, but it'll be a long time before I see her again, or even want to. And yet, I still feel bad for her. That probably sounds strange after everything she's done, but she's still my sister. I keep wondering when she started changing, or if I just missed the signs. Maybe there were red flags we all brushed off as attitude or mood swings that were really something deeper. Life now feels lighter. I'm not dealing with constant chaos. No broken things, no angry texts, no tension in the air. It's peaceful, but sometimes that quiet feels empty. Even though her presence was destructive, she was still part of the family. Now there's just this hollow space where she used to be. My nephew asks about her sometimes. He only knows that his mom is sick and can't take care of him right now. We keep it simple. I think about what it'll be like when he's older and learns the truth. I have no idea how to explain it in a way that makes sense. I've been in therapy since all of this started, and it's been a lifesaver. My therapist keeps reminding me that none of this was my fault. My sister's choices were her own. I didn't ruin her life by posting online, and it's not my job to fix her. I'm trying to believe that fully, even if it takes time. As for her, I don't know what her future looks like. I just hope she finds peace someday. On a lighter note, this whole ordeal made me rediscover my love for old electronics. I've been repairing vintage consoles and handhelds again. The 3DS is considered retro now, which makes me feel ancient, but it's also kind of fun. From here, my focus is simple. Finish school, help brother-in-law pay off the remaining legal debts, keep things calm and steady. After so much chaos, peace feels like the best thing I could ask for. Thank you to everyone who followed this story, supported me, and reminded me that I wasn't crazy. I'll never forget it. Wow. I know that feeling of having an empty space where someone used to be and how strange it is to adjust. It sounds like everyone's where they need to be now, and that you and your ex-brother-in-law are giving your nephew the peace that he deserves. Good on you for sticking with therapy. You've handled this with so much grace. Wishing you and your family continued healing. Don't feel bad for feeling bad about your sister. That's empathy, and it means you haven't let what she did turn you cold. You can recognize her pain without excusing her actions. That balance is what makes you human. Keep moving forward. You've done everything right. I really hope your sister gets the help she needs so she can eventually be a part of her son's life again. Mental health issues this deep don't heal overnight, but at least she's somewhere safe now. And don't beat yourself up for posting about what happened. You didn't use names, and sometimes sharing things like this helps people understand that they're not alone. You did the best you could in a horrible situation. You know, I've heard of sibling rivalry, but this story was more like a full-blown family civil war.
Yeah, and Reddit was basically the jury, the witnesses, and the news network all at once.
I sure am glad the nephew ended up safe, and that OP got some peace, and a working computer again.
The real win, honestly. Therapy, healing, and a rig that still runs. At least something good came out of all that chaos.
Am I the jerk for apparently being the reason my ex's engagement ended? I, 27 female, have a 6-year-old son. His father, who's 29, and I split up when our child was about a year old. We never married, but we were together for a while before things fell apart. We share custody, but I have the majority. My ex sees our son 2 weekends a month. That arrangement wasn't my idea. He said he didn't want to give up his whole life to be a parent. He liked his job, his hobbies, his freedom. Every other weekend parenting suited him fine, and I agreed because at least it gave my son stability. Even then, he doesn't always take his weekends. He'll cancel last minute because he's busy or tired or something came up. He's let our son down more than once, and every time I've had to be the one to explain it gently. About 3 years ago, my ex started dating someone new. I didn't know much about her, but from the little I heard, she seemed nice enough. Then earlier this year, they got engaged. I didn't think it would change anything about co-parenting, but I was wrong. A few weeks after their engagement, I started getting phone calls and texts from an unknown number. At first, they were short and strange, stuff like, "Please call me," or "We need to talk." Then they started coming faster, telling me to answer the phone, asking to meet, etc. I didn't recognize the number and figured it was spam or someone trying to scam me. Then I answered one of the calls. It was my ex's fiance. She jumped straight into a conversation like we were already in the middle of one. She said my ex told her I'd be fine with her coming over to take my son out for the day. Just her and him. She wanted to plan it. I told her I had no idea what she was talking about and that my ex hadn't mentioned anything to me. She sounded surprised, almost annoyed, like she thought I was joking. When I said it wasn't happening, she told me I was being unreasonable. She said, "I'm going to be a stepmom soon. We might as well start now." I said no again. I told her I wasn't handing my child over to someone I'd never met. She could spend time with him when my ex had him, but not on my watch. She didn't like that answer. The next few weeks turned into a mess. My ex started sending me messages through our co-parenting app, repeating the same request over and over. He wanted me to let his fiance take our son out for bonding time. I kept saying no. It wasn't personal, I just wasn't comfortable with it. If I'm honest, I didn't even trust my ex that much, and now he wanted me to let a stranger take my son out? No. By July, my ex told me I was ruining his relationship. He said I needed to stop being so difficult and let his fiance be part of our child's life. I told him that once he was actually part of our child's life, maybe I'd take it more seriously. That was the end of that conversation. Then last month, I got another text from his fiance. Except this time, she wasn't his fiance anymore. She said they broke up and that it was my fault. She told me she was done trying to build a relationship with someone who treated her like a stranger. She said she didn't want to live in a hostile environment where she was made to feel like an outsider to the child she was supposed to love. Then she blocked me. A few hours later, my ex messaged me through the app, furious. He said I had sabotaged his engagement. He accused me of chasing away the one woman who actually cared about our son and said no one else would ever want to date him again if I kept interfering. I told him I didn't care who he dated. What I cared about was protecting my child. I reminded him that he created this problem when he told her she could take our son without ever even checking with me. I said she wouldn't have looked like a fool if he had been honest. He didn't respond. Since then, he's been telling people that I broke them up. A few of his friends have even made comments when they run into me, but most people know better. He's not exactly known for being father of the year. Still, it's exhausting. I'm the one who ends up painted as the villain for not letting a stranger take my 6-year-old somewhere without me. Last week, a mom friend from a parenting group told me maybe I did sabotage things. She said if I had just said yes, it could have helped the fiance feel more included and secure. She said most moms would love to have someone else around who cared about their kid. She even told me I was being egotistical, that I didn't want my son to have a stepmother because I wanted to stay the only real mom. That one stung. I asked her if she'd be okay with a woman she barely knew picking up her child and taking them out. She said yes. I said I didn't believe her. That ended the conversation. Now I keep thinking about it. Did I make the right choice? Could I have handled it better? But no matter how I spin it, I can't see how saying no to a stranger was wrong. I didn't know that woman. She could have been lovely. She could have been terrible. Either way, my child's safety isn't a test run for someone's relationship. So Reddit, be honest. Am I really the reason their engagement ended? Am I the jerk for refusing to let her take my son out? You didn't break up their engagement. Your ex did. He lied to her and set her up to think she had authority over a child that's not hers. You did the right thing by protecting your son. I'd never hand my kid off to someone I hadn't met, even if they were marrying my ex. That's just common sense. The fiancé had good intentions, maybe, but good intentions don't override safety and trust. Your ex sounds like the kind of dad who wants credit for being involved without doing the work. You didn't ruin anything, he did. The fiancé just realized what she was signing up for. Update. She actually reached out one last time, not to apologize, but to say she finally understood what happened. She said my ex told her I was fine with her taking my son because we co-parent really well. She said she realized too late that he was lying to both of us. She admitted she had been frustrated because she felt shut out, but she said she could see now why I reacted the way I did. She said she wished she had approached me directly instead of going through him. It wasn't much, but it was closure. My ex, however, is still mad. He's been posting things on Facebook about bitter exes and gatekeeping mothers. I ignore it. His own family barely engages with him anymore because they know how unreliable he's been as a dad. My son is happy and thriving. He doesn't even mention the woman or his dad's drama. He's focused on school and his friends. The mom friend who told me I was being egotistical did eventually apologize. She said she thought about it and realized she wouldn't have agreed either. She said maybe she just wanted to play devil's advocate. I told her I appreciated the apology. I guess the main thing I've learned is that some people will always twist your boundaries into selfishness, especially when they're used to you cleaning up their messes. My ex wanted someone else to take over the parenting work so he could still look like a great dad. His fiancée wanted a ready-made family without realizing how complicated it actually was. None of that was my responsibility. So no, I didn't ruin their engagement. I just refused to let my child be collateral damage in a relationship built on lies. Your ex set both of you up to fail. If she had taken your son and something had happened, he would have blamed you. You protected your kid and kept clear boundaries. You did exactly what a good parent should do. The ex didn't lose a fiancé because of you. He lost her because she realized she was about to marry a man who lies and avoids responsibility. You didn't destroy anything. You just exposed what was already broken. I guess her ex learned the hard way that co-parenting doesn't mean handing off responsibilities to whoever's convenient.
Exactly. Protecting your kid isn't sabotage. It's called parenting.
My stepdaughter, who I met 4 years ago, hates me, but she demands that I pay for her college. I'm 48 male. My stepdaughter, Hannah, who's 18, is going to attend college. I've known her for around 4 years, since that was when I married her mother. The issue, though, is that we've never gotten along well. I've tried, but she always says that she doesn't like me or wants her real dad. When I try to tell her stuff or scold her for behaving out of order, she says, "You're not my father, you're just some stranger." My wife Emily asked her to behave properly as well, but she doesn't care to listen, and in the end, she stopped telling her as well. I had to pick Hannah up at school once, and when a couple of people who did not know I was her stepdad asked her who I was, she said, "Oh, he's a servant actually," in front of my face. I was extremely mad at that, and it even resulted in a huge argument, although she played it off as a joke. But that was the last straw, and this happened a few months back. After that, I've always treated her as if she's invisible and barely had any interaction with her unless absolutely necessary. Well, she talked to me recently, and she said she's going to apply for colleges and wants me to pay her fees now. I refused and told her to ask her real dad, who refused to pay for it himself. She began to protest and said that I'm affecting her education and that I can't do that. But I did not relent, and I said she's not my business now. My wife says refusing to pay is wrong and that I overreacted, even though she's not been nice to me. Am I the jerk? This is why I'm never marrying anyone with kids. It became your obligation when in fact it's not. Sad to say you're married to her mom. The mom can touch your money and spend it on her daughter's fees, even if you don't agree with it. You're the jerk. You're acting worse than she is. You're an adult, not her. Not paying, that's up to you. But showing so little maturity makes you the jerk. Everyone sucks here. You are completely right and within reason to deny paying her tuition. However, you married into her life years ago. You say you basically got to know her when you got married. So you went from a nobody to a step-parent. That's hard on any kid. And if there wasn't support from both her parents and agreements in your role as a stepdad, that makes it even harder. Without a relationship, you telling her stuff or scolding her isn't going to be anything good for your relationship with her. So while she definitely sucks, I think everyone is to blame. And I don't know if this was her idea of, he wants to be a parent, so here's his chance, or a sense of entitlement. But this is obviously something she wants, and she's getting shot down. So while OP isn't the jerk, I don't think their relationship was set up for success. Everyone sucks here. Everyone should have been in family therapy years ago. Essentially ignoring a teenager in your home, even a poorly behaved one, is toxic. You shouldn't have even gotten married if the daughter wasn't on board. You're the jerk. You should have been respectful and polite and let her mother do the actual parenting. She's been awful, but she's a teen, forced to live with someone she doesn't know who tries to act like a parent. You retaliate by ignoring her like a pouting toddler. I don't care what you pay or you don't pay. Just start acting like an adult. You signed up for this when you married her mom, my guy. Don't want to be a walking, breathing ATM for people who hate you? Then stay away from single moms. You will never be dad, but you will sure pay for everything like you are. 90% of divorces are initiated by the wife when they are both college educated. Let that sink in for a moment. But you shouldn't be surprised if you see how quick people jump to divorce him in these stories. Leave him if he won't bow down to your nonsense. You work too much. You don't make enough money. You don't buy me enough stuff. You buy me the wrong gifts. You don't take me on enough trips. You don't do enough chores. Fail any of her unrealistic requirements and have fun losing everything in divorce court. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his stepdaughter? Please let us know.
What kind of monster wouldn't want to pay college tuition for a stepdaughter who hates his guts, who he's only known for 4 years?
Am I the jerk for canceling my own debt to my brother after he let his kids run amok with my art supplies? I currently owe my brother around $300. He fronted me some money for a family vacation and said I could pay him back in December, 3-paycheck month. My husband and I are hosting a small Thanksgiving this year with the family members who live within driving distance, and my brother's family arrived on Monday to stay through the weekend. His 2 kids, who are 3 and 6, are generally well behaved, but they're still kids. So I let him know to keep them out of the bonus room, currently half finished, and my craft room. You all know where this is going, so I'll just cut to the chase. I came home yesterday to find the kids splayed out in the living room floor, surrounded by art supplies in ruined condition. They were finger painting with my supplies and had completely cross-contaminated the colors, drawn on my good watercolor paper with markers, completely crushing the tips of the markers as well, and ruined or dirtied several items that my friend had brought me from Korea. I confronted my brother, who was nonchalantly watching TV, and he told me that he didn't let the kids go in the craft room. He had gone in himself and grabbed them, just a couple of things, to entertain themselves with. He agreed to buy me replacements until I actually started tallying up the cost. Then he backtracked and said the price was BS and started insisting that most of the stuff was still in usable condition. I said fine, you don't have to replace anything, but you can forget about vacation money. He snapped at me not to argue in front of the kids. I said, who's arguing? Sounds like the conversation is over. Now he wants me to pay the vacation money immediately and work out replacing the art supplies after. I feel like he's just going to try to haggle me or is going to replace my stuff with Crayola and call it even. Update. The cost to replace the ruined items, minus the Korean supplies, would be about $225. Getting an idea of the replacement cost of the Korean stuff is a bit harder. It was mostly journaling and stationery supplies, so I'm not 100% sure how to determine the cost of it. For example, a half-used book of stickers or a bullet journal that has several pages scribbled in. There was also a set of stamps that the kids tried to use markers on, which I'm not yet sure if they're going to need replacing or not, or if I can just clean them off myself. I was fully prepared to just deal with this the next day to get through the holiday, but my husband ended up making a call to my ex-sister-in-law, brother's ex and the kid's mom, and discussed with her what had happened. She was particularly upset that the 3-year-old was allowed to use finger paint with supplies that were not specifically kid-friendly and non-toxic, and she called my brother immediately and chewed him out for that. She also called our parents about it, which turned into a call from our mother to our brother, also chewing him out for being irresponsible. And although no one brought up the money angle, and I didn't expect them to, he was rattled enough to apologize for yesterday and hasn't mentioned the money. I think I'll just pay to replace what I can and consider us even. Tell him that you'll take advantage of the current Black Friday sales to replace the numerous items he stole to give to his kids, and he can have any remainder after you replace the stolen, destroyed items with other identical products or equivalent, but no more expensive products. Not the jerk. In the future, you might want to pick up a few kid craft items when you're hosting kids. Yes, it absolutely should be the parent's responsibility, but it can be hard to have everything when you're traveling with kids. A $10 box of somewhat similar but much cheaper things to entertain them will keep any decent parent out of the rest and be met with gratitude, especially if you give them an idea of how expensive and or hard to replace your good stuff is. This is how I've dealt with my own nephews. Am I the jerk for bringing home dumpster dive eggs, which caused my roommate to end up in the ER? I, 19 male, recently moved into a shared place, and there is someone who keeps stealing my food. At first, I thought it was just a mistake, but even my leftovers were being eaten. It was very clear that the person was doing it on purpose. I spoke to my housemates about how I would just prefer to be asked first, but they were so nonchalant about it, and none of them admitted to doing it, and I haven't caught anyone in the act, so I just tried to ignore it, as it only happened every couple of days or so. A few days ago, I came home from work with a carton of eggs that I found while dumpster diving and some bread. I wanted to give the eggs the water test first before eating them, just to make sure that they were safe to consume, but I was too tired and I went to bed early without eating. The next day, I found out that one of my housemates got sick and ended up having to go to the emergency room. My eggs were not in the fridge where I left them, but I saw the carton and shells in the trash, and my bread was opened. I had a hunch that it was him because there was a possibility that the eggs had gone bad, but I was also annoyed at the fact that he helped himself to my food without asking. When he came back, I asked him if he had eaten my eggs and bread, but he denied it. I then said, "Okay, but I hope whoever ate them doesn't get as sick as you did, because I found the eggs in the dumpster." His face immediately dropped, and he looked visibly uncomfortable. He got angry and went from saying that he may have consumed the food by mistake as he wasn't paying attention and doesn't exactly remember, and accusing me of doing this to him on purpose. He said that it's a health hazard to bring such food into communal spaces without warning everyone first, as it's not uncommon for people in shared places to eat other people's food by mistake. He hasn't spoken to me since this, and my housemates are siding with him and calling me disgusting for doing that. A part of me feels like I wasn't wrong because they were my eggs that I was fully intending on eating, and I didn't think I had to warn people against eating food that didn't belong to them. But I also do feel bad and guilty that he got so sick. So Reddit, please tell me if I was in the wrong. Edit, just to clarify, because I see comments that suggest maybe I did this on purpose. I didn't. I've been dumpster diving for some of my food recently, so I was fully intending on eating it, just like I've been eating the food that I've been finding while dumpster diving. I try to exercise caution, and thankfully it hasn't made me sick yet. But had he not eaten it, I was probably going to end up in the ER myself, because I was obviously going to eat it. I didn't randomly do it just to try and bait and catch whoever had been eating my food. Food poisoning is no joke. As I said, I just moved recently, and I'm trying to get on my feet. I also understand that although I make sure to wipe my food first, ultimately it is gross to put food that came from a dumpster into a communal fridge or pantry, and will not continue to do so. I will just put it in my room from now on. I lived in dorms for 7 years with 9 different people altogether. Nobody has ever eaten my food by mistake, or on purpose by the way, nor did I eat theirs. It's really not that hard to not eat what's not yours. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. If the housemates prefer a communal food sharing system, they had the opportunity to discuss this with you when you brought it up. They also could have asked you to label your food so they didn't accidentally mix things up. But it sounds like they didn't take that opportunity either. This sounds like karma to me. Nope, you did nothing wrong. Your forgetful roommate is a piece of work. Once or twice, I can see food going missing in a communal fridge. But chronically, and with nobody fessing up to it, is BS. Someone is lying to your face and eating your food. Who doesn't have the courage to admit their error and think you are dumb enough to believe their weak, lame excuse? Tell them you are insulted for this reason and your sick roommate got what was coming to him. He merely got to experience the occupational hazard of being a thief, not the jerk. Eggs, meat, and dairy are not appropriate dumpster diving foods. Edit. To the people arguing with me that you can totally eat old eggs out of the dumpster, on a post about a person who was hospitalized due to eating old eggs out of the dumpster, please do not procreate. Everyone sucks here. He sucks for eating everyone else's food without asking, especially after you made it clear you don't want your stuff eaten. And 2, why the heck are you pulling cartons of eggs and other potentially spoiled food from dumpsters? I find it hard to believe someone could eat an entire carton of spoiled eggs and not know it at any point during the cooking or eating process. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his roommate? Please let us know. I'm so glad I don't have roommates. Am I the jerk for telling my sister she was naive to think her daughter would suddenly see her stepdaughter as a true sister?
My sister has an 18-year-old daughter, Casey. It was just the two of them for 10 years. Casey never knew her dad, which means my sister had sole custody of Casey. When she was little, Casey used to talk a lot about how there were these mean girls in school. One of them, Valerie, Casey disliked more than the other girls. She was the worst. My sister did her fair share of complaining about the dad too, especially when she had to replace an eraser a couple of weeks into school starting because Valerie broke it. When Casey was 9, my sister and Valerie's dad started spending time together, and then they got married a year later. There was a lot of shock on my part, seeing as my sister knew how Case felt about Valerie, and given her own complaints about Valerie's dad allowing her to get away with so much. But he's an attractive guy, and I guess that won her over everything else. The announcement to Case went out about as well as can be expected. She was furious at her mom, more so on her wedding day because my sister wanted the girls to match and look like sisters for the first time. Valerie used the wedding to taunt some of Case's friends, saying that she was going to replace them with her. It only added fuel to an already bright fire. Case ultimately refused to take part in the wedding on the day and sat with me instead. Things in their household were tense for years afterward. My sister would get upset that Case was so mad about it that she didn't change her opinion of Valerie at all, and that she would very strongly deny that they were sisters. About 2 years after she got married, my sister decided they all needed family therapy. It was only in the last 2 years that Valerie appears to have grown, and from the outside, it does not look like she's the bully she once was, but Case still cares nothing for her. Both girls graduated in May, and Case moved out and in with me, wanting to get away from Valerie. The other day, my sister and I met up for lunch, and she was venting about Case not talking to Valerie at all, and how Valerie had wanted them to meet up every day after classes started. They go to different colleges, but both are local, but Case didn't even answer her. She said she thought after all these years, Case would see Valerie as a true sister, and even if she didn't like her, there would be some sense of family loyalty there. I was shocked to hear my sister say that. She noticed and asked me why I looked like a fish. I told her I had never expected her to be so naive to think Case would feel that way when she hated Valerie long before she, my sister, met her husband. My sister's attitude changed very fast, and she told me that I'm the naive little brother to think these things don't change when family bonds are created. I told her that family bonds aren't created that easily when there is already bad blood present, no matter how much she might want them to be there. She told me I owed her an apology and she'll be waiting for it. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Your sister chose her partner over her daughter, bringing her bully into her home and trying to force them to play nice. Her daughter will never forgive, forget, or get over that. Well done for supporting your niece. Not the jerk. Your sister is delusional to think family bonds were created between two adolescent enemies, one of whom was actively bullying the other just because their parents got married. This isn't a Disney special. It's always crazy to me to encounter people who have this highly idealized vision in their head and the way they will absolutely demolish their relationships thinking the ideal will be realized. Your sister let her daughter down. This might have been salvageable if Casey's dislike of Valerie had been taken into account from early on. Your sister and her husband did not give it enough time or attention. I really feel sad for Casey, but honestly it sounds like she's doing all right. She isn't obligated to have a loving, warm relationship with Valerie. I can't imagine how this will play out moving forward, aside from poor Casey being essentially estranged from the whole lot. But you are not the jerk for trying to draw your sister's attention to her delusion. Am I the jerk for calling my brother's fiancé an entitled bridezilla for name-dropping me during wedding planning? I'm 28 female. My brother, JC, who's 35, proposed to his girlfriend, Izzy, who's 29, over the summer. The background of this whole drama is that I plan a lot of parties, and earlier this year, I planned the wedding of my boyfriend's sister and was a bridesmaid. I am not a professional. I just have a good grasp of aesthetics, and I know a lot of people in the local area, so my friends ask or I offer to help with party and event planning sometimes. About 6 weeks ago, I got a call from Izzy asking me to be her maid of honor. I was very surprised because we don't know each other well, and my calendar in the early part of the year is so hectic I really don't have time. I was upfront with her about this, telling her how flattered I was and that I would be happy to be a bridesmaid if she wanted, but I just wasn't able to take on maid of honor responsibilities. Izzy was annoyed about this and admitted she had expected that I would accept being maid of honor and offer to plan the wedding with her, since I had for my cousin previously and my boyfriend's sister. I said again that if she wanted me to be a bridesmaid, I'd be happy to do that, but I wasn't going to plan her wedding or associated events.
She begrudgingly accepted this, but I had a feeling when it came time to officially have bridesmaid, I wouldn't be one, which is fine. JC never brought this up, so I thought no more about it. A couple of days ago, I got a call from the event coordinator of a hotel I've used for events in the past. This person had questions about my wedding requirements. I was confused, obviously. It transpired that Izzy had called this hotel and used my name to get an appointment with the coordinator, and then further dropped my name to try to secure a sizable discount, saying that I was involved in planning the wedding. I was mortified. On a hunch, I called the owner of the restaurant where I held my parents' anniversary party to ask if he had had any contact about an event I'm planning. He had. Again, Izzy had called about hosting a bridal shower, again asking for a discount based on my name. I called Izzy and said she had nerve to be touting my name around, embarrassing me in front of people I know and work with, all without my knowledge. We argued. Izzy said it shouldn't have been a big deal to mention me, since I wouldn't help her, it's the least I could do. To which I said, not when you try to lowball my contacts and don't even ask me if I'm okay with you using me as a contact. The argument went on until I called her an entitled bridezilla and I hung up. JC says I shouldn't have said that to her and to just let the venues tell her no on their own. But I think it's nuts that she feels entitled to use my name and then run it through the mud with people who have really helped me out in the past. Am I the jerk here? Not the jerk. This is bananas behavior on her part. She and JC are acting like there is no harm or impact on this, but there is, and they're misusing your name you've built for yourself without your consent or involvement. The way you stood up for yourself was entirely reasonable and appropriate. Not the jerk. Speak to the venue and restaurant and explain what's going on. Make sure they're clear that this has nothing to do with you. You also need to have a word with your brother about her as well. Maybe consider not going to the wedding. I know it's your brother's wedding, but she has damaged your reputation. My girlfriend's family always makes comments about what I eat. My girlfriend and I have been together for 3 years. Our relationship is strong, except for a recurring issue where her family is difficult, and she's not always great at standing up to them for me. I'm a large man, not overweight or anything, just very tall. I play 2 recreational sports and also bike a lot in my free time. As a result of this, I eat a lot. 95% of the time I eat healthy, but in larger quantities. And the other 5% of the time, I will occasionally pig out. I'm not unhealthy in the slightest. I've been to a doctor recently, and he affirmed I'm in good health and I have a good healthy lifestyle by all measures. Weight, exercise, blood pressure, cholesterol, etc. So I know that I'm doing everything right. However, my girlfriend's family constantly needs to comment on what and how much I eat. They live 2 hours away, so when we see them, it's typically us staying at their house for a whole weekend where I'm at the whims of whatever the menu is. If I eat more than 1 serving of something, then the mom or sister will make comments or whisper to each other about how I'm eating into their leftovers the next day, or how it's unhealthy for me to have a second cookie or something. This is even if there is a ton of food, so I know I'm not eating their whole week's budget of food or anything. I've also tried bringing my own snacks, so I'm not infringing on their supply of food with my extra eating, but this doesn't work either. I will sneak a granola bar or an apple or a bag of chips from my bag, and they'll find out. I think they search the trash or something, and they let me know that it will spoil my appetite, or ask whether the food mom made wasn't good enough for me. My girlfriend and I also will do our own activities out of the house during the day sometimes when we visit, so I have occasionally had us stop at a fast food place if I need to eat some fries or chicken nuggets or whatever out of the house. Whenever we come back, the mom or sister will make comments or ask if we ate anywhere else while we were out, and girlfriend gets nervous and confesses because she feels guilty or doesn't like lying to them. So after 3 years of this, I get really sick of being attacked for the amount that I eat, even when it barely impacts them, and I know I'm eating an okay amount. It has gradually gotten worse over time. My breaking point came last week when it was my girlfriend's mom's birthday, so we met at a restaurant in the middle between us one night. I ordered a burger and fries while everyone else ordered salads, and immediately girlfriend's mom, sister, and aunt all started commenting about how the burger looked unhealthy. I stood up for myself and said that I had biked dozens of miles that week already, so I think I can treat myself to a burger. To which the sister said that one unhealthy thing can wipe out weeks of working out, which I dismissed. I was hoping that would be it, but every 10 minutes someone would make more comments, so I'm getting really annoyed. I eyeballed my girlfriend numerous times to be like, back me up here, and barely got anything. Finally, the food came and my burger was perfectly normal. Not giant, not dripping with grease, not filled with unhealthy toppings, just a normal burger. But everyone was like,
Wow, that thing is enormous. You really shouldn't eat that in one sitting. It'll clog your arteries and you will feel terrible afterwards. Seriously, that thing is so unhealthy. I think I would die if I ate it.
I decided that I was done after that. I sneaked away to the bathroom and stopped at the front of the restaurant to ask for a box and to pay my part of the bill early, came back to the table and announced that I was going to get going as I didn't feel well, and asked my girlfriend if she wanted a ride home or if she was going to figure out another way home. She got super embarrassed and said she would come with me if I wait a few minutes, so I got in the car and ate my burger in there while I waited like 10 minutes for her to come outside. We left and she cried the whole way home. I felt bad that it hurt her feelings, but I'm at my limit, and I told her I was done going to events where we eat food with her family, and if that means that I don't come with her when she goes to visit her family, that's just the way it has to be. I said I would be skipping Thanksgiving at her parents' this year. Since then, she has barely talked to me, but hasn't really fought me on it at all. I know it hurts her, but I have to stick up for myself here. I'm sick of being treated like I'm some big guy who eats garbage, when I know I live on a healthier lifestyle than any of them. I'm not even that mad at my girlfriend. Obviously, I would appreciate the backup, but I know she's scared of her family since they're all bullies. So I'm just not going to allow myself to be present at these opportunities. Whatever fallout happens as a result of this is just not my responsibility. Am I handling this right? Is there a nicer way I could have said everything or been gentler with my girlfriend? I don't want to hurt her feelings, but I have the right to protect myself if she won't. I'm married to a 6'5" beanpole who still eats like a starving teenager. When we visit my parents, my mom stocks the fridge with extra food, prepares special meals she knows he loves, and takes us out to eat at his favorite burger place. Although she goes above and beyond what is required of a host, I don't know of any culture where it isn't rude as heck to deny a guest additional servings if there's plenty of food left. Or, God forbid, mention the lack of leftovers. If they're hosting a meal, they should cook an appropriate amount of food to feed everyone they invited. I think it's clear that their family has a deeply unhealthy relationship with food. Instead of enjoying being with their family to celebrate a birthday, they chose to harass you over your meal. Your girlfriend has probably been subjected to these comments for her entire life. However, she needs to step up and tell them to lay off of you and keep their thoughts to themselves. They're being incredibly rude and unwelcoming to you while she sits by and says nothing. I support your decision to no longer attend family meals with her and your refusal to visit for Thanksgiving. Maybe this will be the wake-up call that she needs. Am I the jerk for putting a tracker in my wife's car? Wife and I have been together for over 25 years, and she's always done the bingo thing with her mom. I have no problems with that, and they've been doing it for years. Maybe once or twice a month. Again, no problem. Her mom has always been a gambling addict, and it caused the divorce of her first husband, but she wiped out her second husband's bank account within a couple of years. So I'm always a bit leery on the whole gambling thing. I've seen it destroy families. Her mom lives with us now. Uh-oh. 15 years ago, I worked out of state a lot, so she's always had control of our joint banking account. My checks were auto-deposit, so never really broke down our bills as I should have. After I kept pressuring her to tell me where all our money was going, she broke down and told me she gambled it away at the casino. Slot machines. Big fight. At that point, I got a separate checking account, so at least the bills would be paid on time. I make a bit more than she does, but I pay most of the bills, and am still able to save up money every month. This has never been sustainable though, since any surprise bills, we have 2 teen kids, it's always me that pays for them. She's broke every month. When we were going over our tax returns, it turned out she owed $6,000 in taxes, all from the casino. We went over the whole gambling and financial problems again, and she shook my hand and promised she would stop. Fast forward a few months, I bought a tracker online, one that I could put on my tractor. I let friends borrow it and wanted to keep track of it in case it was stolen, and the kids' car since they're turning 16, so I wanted to keep track of them. I had the tracker for a few weeks and decided to try it out one day. I threw it in the console of my wife's car just to see how the app works. She took off with her mom before I could tell her, and she texted me they were heading out shopping. Well, they went straight to the casino instead. I wasn't mad, but was definitely concerned. I feel guilty for spying on my wife, so I took it out and never said anything. However, curiosity killed the cat, and I threw it back in her car a few weeks later, this time on purpose and hidden. It's been a couple of months, and they've been at the casino at least twice a week. Not the bingo hall, but the actual casino. I confronted her again today when she asked for money for kids' gymnastics. I asked her how her gambling issue was going, and she denies she's back to gambling. I gave her many outs and she wouldn't admit it. So I then told her about the tracker. Now she's furious that I tracked her and started calling me names. Sorry this posted all over the place. I'm just super nervous. We've been together for 25 years and I'm freaking out. To clear up some info, my wife and 2 daughters already track each other on their iPhones. They always know where everyone is, except for me, since my phone is a crappy Android that doesn't connect with their phones. I work construction, so my phones don't last long. I just replace it because it's cheap and I don't need anything fancy. The tracker I bought was just for tracking the vehicles if they were stolen or something. Yes, I should have confronted her about it the day I was testing out the tracker. Huge mistake, and it led to me being a creeper. I can't deny that part. I think I was just hoping it was a one-off white lie and not a normal thing. Update. Well, we had a fight. At first, it was mostly her on the attack for all the things I do wrong that pushed her to the casino. I expected this and was able to turn it back around and keep the focus on the gambling. Long story short, lots of crying and opening up. I told her that she was the one person in the world that I trust the most, and she's also the one person that lies to me the most. That was the breaking point, and a long, vulnerable discussion about where we are in our marriage and where it's going. It's been a long time since we've had one of these. She has agreed to open up her finances so we can figure out what to do there. I have no idea how much we're in debt yet, but it sounds like quite a bit. Hopefully it's manageable. We're going to see a marriage counselor, and she also agreed to go to a gambling addiction counselor. Mother-in-law is probably going to move out. Granted, this is just the beginning, and who knows what will happen down the road, but it's a start. I'm pretty exhausted. We'll see how things are tomorrow. Thank you for the opinions and advice. I guess I don't care if I was the jerk anymore. It had to be done, and I have no regrets. I swear, these "you violated her privacy" people are the worst. She nearly wrecked them financially, but God forbid OP makes sure she's not trying to do it again. I'm not sure how I feel about this. On one hand, I strongly disagree with secretly tracking anyone, but I'm not sure if the wife would have come clean otherwise. Tough decision. On the plus side, it seems like they may be able to work through it. The mother-in-law moving out was a crucial step towards them having any hope of reconciliation. I guess we'll see what happens. Yeah, I have serious doubts about the "oopsie, it was a total accident that I put the tracker in there and forgot to tell them." But I guess ultimately the gambling is the bigger issue. To everyone out there, I know a man who put a tracker on his wife's car to prove she was cheating. She was cheating, but she went straight to the police and had him arrested for stalking and harassment of his own wife, still married and a jointly owned car. He even went to jail for a few weeks. She used the conviction in the divorce, and she got the house, full custody of the kids, and a large portion of his business. When he got out of jail, he couldn't even visit his parents because she still lived close enough to them that the restraining order prevented him from being there. He had to buy parts of his business back from her and could only have supervised visitation of his kids for the first 2 years. The judge was sympathetic, giving the lowest sentence he was legally allowed to, and everyone knew he hadn't really done anything wrong. But using trackers on your spouse without their knowledge and consent is extremely illegal. Do not use trackers. It can go incredibly wrong for you, no matter what you're proving. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. Nothing's worse than being in a relationship with someone with a bad addiction who lies to you about it every day. Karen's server refuses to refund my tip. I went into a burrito bowl place to order takeout. They had this new tip option on the card reader that they've never had before. The card reader is not touchscreen, nor are there tabs on the side to select options. They're just numbers. Before I paid, the screen asked what amount I wanted to tip: 20%, 25, 30, or other. I tried to press the number 4 for other, but the button didn't work. I told the worker that number 4 did not work and asked the worker what to press for other, and she told me 3. After I selected 3, it added a 30% tip to my card. I told her I wanted to select other and not 30%. She told me she was not aware that I was not trying to tip, and she thought she remembered the order number. I asked her to refund my tip, and she said that's not possible since they can only refund actual orders if there's something wrong with the food. I told her the card reader buttons were not working properly, and it doesn't have an easy or obvious option to select no, nor did the right option work. She refused to refund me, saying, "It wasn't that much money anyway." I asked to speak to the manager, telling the manager they need a more user-friendly option to select no on the card reader, and the manager told me all the card readers are like that, which it's not. Other places have a no option and are touchscreen. She told me my tip would be really appreciated and it would help her staff since the holidays are coming up, and this could be my way to make someone's day. I told her that because they are using a system like this, they don't care about their customers, let alone their coworkers, if they need to even rely on scamming people to get tips, and I want a refund. The manager asked me why I selected a 30% option if I wanted to select other, and I told her the number for other didn't work, and when I asked her worker about it, she told me the wrong answer. She told me I was gullible and blaming her worker for my own mistake, and out of good customer service, she will refund my tip, but told me this will not happen again. You're the jerk. See, this is why I have no problem messing with customers' food. My coworkers and I have to deal with people like you every day, and I can't tell you how infuriating it is. You couldn't just spare a few dollars as a simple thank you to the people who work their butts off making your food? I hope they ban you from their restaurant and that you learn to show a little compassion. Rich boy goes to Chipotle and accidentally leaves a tip, then goes full-on Karen when they aren't able to process a refund for the $2 tip you accidentally gave them. If I worked there, so help me God, you don't even want to know what I'd do to your food. I've been tested a few times like this before, and let's just say some of the entitled customers like yourself that rubbed me the wrong way got way more than they bargained for. I do chemistry in my spare time as a hobby, and I always have a full kit with me at work for the problematic customers. Heck, I even add some of my secret ingredients to random customers' food when I just don't like the way they look. Dang. Mess around and find out. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or the employees? Please let us know.
I always tip servers well and I don't plan on stopping, but I am getting tired of these machines at the gas station that tell you to leave a tip when you're checking out for the chips that you bought.
Am I the jerk for being upset that my niece requested payment when I asked her to babysit for a couple of hours? My husband, who's in his 30s, male, and I, 30s, female, we have a 3-year-old son together, Max. Max is a sweet kid, but has a difficult time in unfamiliar situations, and he can get overstimulated easily. A little while ago, my husband was across the country on a work trip while I was home with Max. I got a call one morning from his manager informing me that my husband had been in a car accident and he was in the hospital. He couldn't tell me much, but said that although he was stable, it didn't look good and that I should come as soon as I can. I obviously freaked out. I booked a ticket just for myself because it would be almost impossible to travel with Max, and I could barely afford the last-minute ticket for myself. I called my mom, who lives a few hours away, and asked her to come watch Max while I'm away. At this point, I needed someone to watch Max for the time it would take for my mom to arrive so I could make the flight. Looking back, I probably could have handled the logistics better than this, but I was hysterical and was just doing things as I thought of them. I called 3 friends. 1 didn't answer and 2 were unable to help. Luckily, we live close to my brother and sister-in-law who have a daughter who's 17, Sarah. We're very close with them. Sarah answered the door and said her parents were out. I explained the situation and asked if she had watched Max for a couple of hours until my mom came. I should note that Sarah babysits for a few local families and obviously charges them for her services. We have never asked Sarah to babysit before. She showed some concern for my husband, and when I asked her again, she said something along the lines of, "Well, you'll pay me, right? I usually charge this much." I stared at her for a moment, not really expecting that response, and then my friend who didn't answer called me back and said of course she had watched Max. So I took Max and left without saying anything to my niece. I coordinated with my friend and my mom, then flew to see my husband. He ended up needing surgery, but is making a full recovery. A few days after he was able to fly home, we had dinner with my brother and sister-in-law. We were talking about the accident, and I mentioned that I had asked Sarah to watch Max. I also noted that I was a little upset that she brought up payment in that moment. My brother was surprised and said he would talk to her as that's not an appropriate reaction. My sister-in-law interjected and said she was proud of Sarah for advocating for herself. She and I argued, and she said that I was entitled for being surprised that Sarah asked for money. To be clear, if I asked Sarah to babysit under normal circumstances, I would absolutely expect to pay her. It was unsettling that Sarah would bring up payment while, for all I knew, my husband might not make it in a hospital on the other side of the country. I think it would have been more empathetic to bring up the topic of payment after I returned and confirm that my husband was okay. My sister-in-law is still being cold with me, and so is my niece. Am I the jerk for getting upset? Not the jerk. It was an emergency, a one-off thing, and the kid is family for goodness sake. Your niece is sadly lacking in empathy and decency, as is your sister-in-law. I'll bet had she agreed, you'd have done something nice for her upon your return. Glad your husband will be okay. In my opinion, you are not the jerk, because if you asked Sarah to babysit under normal circumstances, you would absolutely expect to pay her. I would normally be on her side. However, this was clearly a serious family emergency, and the right thing for her to do would be to help, or to ask you later on to compensate her in some more casual manner. Not the jerk. My aunt refused to babysit my brother and I when our dad almost didn't make it. This was 20 years ago. My mom's relationship with her never recovered. Niece needs to learn time and place to advocate for herself. Reddit likes to say we don't owe others anything, but you do. You owe them empathy if you expect to be part of a family unit. No jerks here. Sarah is a teenager, and really, all she did was ask for payment for babysitting. Socially flawless? No, but again, teenager. You were upset and worried and just didn't answer, then went about your business. It may have been awkward or something you didn't like, but in my opinion, there are no jerks here. It sounds to me that Sarah has had bad experiences with other people not paying her. I know hardworking teens who have gone unpaid because they didn't know how to negotiate or set boundaries and ended up feeling foolish afterwards, especially when it comes to helping relatives. I'm not saying that you wouldn't have paid her, but she had no way of knowing without asking you. She didn't have an empathetic response to your emergency. However, just as you expect empathy for your situation, as the adult, it would be gracious if you overlooked her mistake. What would have been a kind response is to say, of course you would pay, but to privately express to her later that in the emergency situation, you were a little hurt that she wasn't more concerned about your husband as her first reaction. By bringing it up to her parents, you are making it a more awkward situation. My kids are older teens, and they've benefited from relatives giving them the benefit of the doubt, but also pulling them aside and gently speaking to them. And I've done the same with my nieces and nephews. I try to come to them with the assumption that they have good intentions but haven't learned proper etiquette yet. As a result, we have a good relationship. I don't think anyone is the jerk here, just a lot of high emotions and assumptions in a stressful situation. No jerks here, because you were understandably distraught, but gentle reminder, it is your responsibility to find childcare for your kid, even in an emergency, and that includes paying for it when needed. Also, she does this for work, so it makes sense she didn't want to give her services away for free. I know many family members that ask people to fix computers, for instance, that look at theirs for free. Would it have been nice if she did it for free, being that it's an emergency? Sure, but she's not obligated to. You're the jerk. I'm sorry you found yourself in such a terrible and stressful bind, but considering you would have had to pay an emergency sitter if all your contacts had fallen through, I don't think this is as unreasonable an ask as you're trying to argue it is. Although, honestly, this is the part that gets to me. You think it would have been more empathetic to bring up the topic of payment after you returned. You mean after she had already rendered services and couldn't do anything about it if you continued to insist you shouldn't be charged, let alone try to argue, as most people would, she should have said something in advance if that was the expectation. Yeah, no. You didn't want to pay her rates, and fortunately you didn't have to. Move on and drop the shame campaign. I understand that you feel that your niece's reaction was insensitive to your circumstances, but it's not unreasonable to be asked to be paid for labor. Whether you're in crisis or not, you're still asking her to work. In fact, you believing that your emergency entitles you to free labor seems problematic to me. Did you expect the doctors and nurses at your husband's hospital to patch him up for free also? Did you expect the pilot flying you to your husband's side to do so for free? No, you paid them for their services. Why is your niece exempt from that? Gentle, you're the jerk. I understand why you reacted that way in the heat of the moment, but to continue to bear a grudge for a 17-year-old negotiating the terms of a labor agreement is unreasonable. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her niece? Please let us know.
Don't you just love the way Reddit flip-flops their opinions?
Am I the jerk for breaking up with my girlfriend because she's still friends with the guy she cheated with in her previous relationship? Me, 26, and my ex-girlfriend, 25, were together for about a year. Some weeks ago, we were hanging out with some of her friends, not the friend in question. We were playing a little quiz game, and one of the questions that popped up involved cheating. I mentioned that I hate cheaters, and after that, I noticed one of the friends give my ex-girlfriend a look, and also noticed my girlfriend got a bit uncomfortable. It was weird, and it got me thinking. The next day, I asked my girlfriend about it. She said that she wasn't gonna lie and admitted that she cheated on her ex. This was a year before she met me. I felt upset about it because she's never mentioned it before, and I asked her what happened. She mentioned that one time she got drunk and hooked up with her friend. Let's call him B. B is a former friend with benefits of hers, and they still hang out regularly. I know that my ex-girlfriend and B had a history, and while I didn't like that they hung out, I just dealt with it. I was pretty upset because not only did I find out that she was a cheater, but she still hung out with the guy. I told her I needed some time to think, and after 2 days, I decided to break up with her. I didn't want to tell her that she can't be friends with B, and I knew I couldn't deal with her still being friends with him, so I just removed myself. Am I the jerk? You never clarified with her before starting to date her that these were deal breakers, so you're the jerk for that, but you do you. What someone does in past relationships doesn't dictate what they do in future relationships, but you're still young enough to lean towards black and white thinking, so whatever. I think you have some insecurities you need to deal with in therapy, firstly. Secondly, while she may have cheated on her previous partner, there is nothing to indicate that she would have cheated on you. Relationship dynamics change from partner to partner. I think you may have jumped the gun. She may not have told you because she was ashamed and embarrassed about it. She's obviously very comfortable with B, and as some people have mentioned, if she has such chemistry with him, maybe she should be dating him instead of you. But that's not what we're discussing. I personally think you jumped the gun because of your own insecurities. You have no right to hold her responsible for a past mistake you were not part of or involved in. Imagine being judged severely for every wrongdoing of your past. If you have changed and grown, that would suck. People do change and grow. Just say this relationship isn't working for you, but don't blame a past transgression that didn't involve you. You're the jerk. Oh, grow up. I've had it with insecure men who are obsessed with trying to control us. She has every right to be friends with B and hang out with him as much as she wants. They have a past history? So what? I have tons of guy friends, and some of them, guess what, I've hooked up with. So if you expect me to stop hanging out with them just because I have a new boyfriend who's insecure as heck? It's 2023, dude. If you think you're gonna find someone you can control and not let her hang out with other guys just because they used to be friends with benefits, you're sadly mistaken. So again, grow up. Actually, instead of growing up like you're suggesting OP does, I think he just needs to find someone with values similar to his own. That's what I did, and we've been married going on 4 years now. I didn't find her in my country though. Had to take my search overseas to find someone who would treat me with the same level of respect that I treat her with. Husbands and wives are supposed to respect each other and honor each other. It makes me sad how many of y'all don't think that's the case anymore, simply because it's 2023. I have to wonder what caused so many of you to think this way. Did you not grow up in a loving home with a mother and a father? They are supposed to set the example for you on how a family is meant to interact with each other. You all just sound so toxic, mean-spirited, and rebellious. You're the jerk. Have you ever made a mistake in your life, or are you an angel? As for her being friends with B, you never even gave her a chance to choose you. By all means, break up with her if you want to, but it's got nothing to do with anything she's done wrong. You clearly just don't want to be with her, and you're looking for any excuse to leave. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk for breaking up with his girlfriend over this, or not? Please let us know.
These stories are so addicting, but the replies, they make me wish for a comet. Why were the dinosaurs the lucky ones? We deserve it so much more.
I'm 50, male. My wife, who's 48, abandoned me 2 months ago to go find herself. My wife, Mary, her family has a history of dementia, developing memory issues in their mid to late 50s. Her mom, grandmother, and several other relatives on her mom's side have developed dementia. Her mom lived with us for 4 years until earlier this year. Her father has passed. Our kids are independent and live out of the house. Oldest is in her last semester of college, and the younger enlisted. The last 4 years were tough on us, our kids, daughter moved for college but moved back in for a bit during lockdown, and our marriage. Living with someone with dementia is brutal. We had talked a lot the last year about taking the remaining college funds, our regular savings, sell or rent the house. We were ready to downsize anyway, quit our jobs, and travel for a year or until the money runs out. We just had to wait for her mom to move into a home. I understand her anxiety about developing dementia, and I was burned out. You lived through lockdown working remote, a wife working remote, a college and high school student taking remote classes, and a mother-in-law with dementia, and see how you hold up. Space finally opened up, and we were able to move her mom into a care facility. I finally thought I had a chance to breathe. When we moved Mary's mom out, Mary's mental health took a huge downward spiral. I went from caring for her mom to caring for her. She felt guilty about putting her mom in a home and had lots of anxiety about developing dementia. Our plan was to start our traveling summer of 2024. 2 months ago, I get home and she's left me a note. My friends call it Exhibit A. Basically, she was going on our trip without me. She had quit her job, took most of the savings, and wasn't sure when she'd be back. Maybe a year, maybe sooner. She knew I'd understand. Her location is turned off and my calls go directly to voicemail. I texted the kids a picture of the note. We have our own checking accounts for direct deposits of our paychecks, but we had transferred most into a joint account to pay the household bills and savings. We both had access to main savings account. We have joint credit cards we used for household expenses. The 2 cars and mortgage are joint. We both have our own small savings accounts, our own retirement accounts, equally funded, and our own credit cards for gifts and fun things. I closed all joint accounts and cards. I waited a month to see if she'd come back, hopefully before she spent our savings. After receiving only 1 text the first month, I went to a lawyer. She basically said there was very little to do right now other than change the beneficiaries of my retirement accounts and life insurance. Yay, my wife gets nothing else if I pass alone while she's having our adventures. It was only a month and there was no way to serve her papers. My lawyer advised me to keep paying the mortgage and the cars. The cost of trying to get a judge to approve the sale of joint assets was more than making payments. I didn't want to ruin my credit by letting one of our cars get repossessed, but I can't sell it because she's on the title. I get random texts and she sporadically posts on Instagram. Of course, she has comments turned off. I want to block her so bad, but my lawyer advised me that it's better to maintain a communication channel that's not through our kids. Her last post was from Hawaii. She put in the comments how great a husband I was for letting her take this trip. I'm barely making it paying 2 cars, a mortgage, household bills, insurance, hoping there are no emergencies because I have no savings, and she's enjoying our trip. Forget her. I'm so upset with her. I helped take care of her mom for 4 years and her when she fell apart after her mom moved into a memory care home, and she returns the favor by abandoning me? I'll never get to take this trip and have to put off retirement. My only solace is the kids are upset with her, but they'll probably forgive her eventually. Double forget her. I'm no fool. She's hooking up with guys. She looks good. She'll have zero problem getting men. I texted her and asked her if she was cheating on me. A week later, she responded that she wasn't. Sure. So I'm drinking alone on a Friday night, and she's somewhere, probably on a beach, enjoying her life. Triple forget her. Edit. My lawyer has given me a bunch of advice and options. It was just way more than I could include in the post. I could definitely push the issue harder, and I might need to at some point, but all that work is very expensive. Finding her, serving her, getting a judge to sign off, that's not cheap. I'm following up soon, and I plan on talking about the savings in my finances. Until I paid all the bills and realized how little was left, it didn't hit me that I had to worry about money. Thank you for letting her take the trip is basically her saying, when I get through living the single life, I'll be coming back to the comfort and security of married life. When she returns, I'd say, welcome home, here are your walking papers. OP. She 100% is under the delusion that she's coming back to a marriage. She's had a few conversations with our daughter, and she's convinced I'll understand and forgive her. Tell your daughter to pass along the message that you're filing for divorce for abandonment and see if this gets you some traction. I don't generally like the idea of going through kids, but they need to have your back on this. Maybe even tell her they'll cut her off as well if she keeps doing this to you and the family. Maybe even start posting about how she's living the good life and letting your friends and family know what kind of pickle this has put you in. Everyone probably assumes you're on board if you're not purposefully driving the true narrative. OP. She only hears what she wants to. I asked her to send me an address to serve her papers. She only told me that we'll work it out when she comes home. My daughter tells her all the pain she's causing, but she just says that she only has 5 to 10 years left until she gets dementia. It's impossible to know if she'll even develop it, but shouldn't she be spending this time with her family? Update. I'm feeling much more positive now that the financial situation has become a little more manageable. Basically, I'm running up debt that will get paid off when I sell the house. Even with the lawyer fees, I have 6 to 8 more months before I have to worry about money, assuming there are no emergencies. My friend's wife gave me some good advice. Don't go from being a hero to a villain in your kids' eyes. How I talk about and treat my wife will determine my future relationship with my kids. I don't give a hoot about her, but I don't want to make her a sympathetic figure or drive them away from both of us. I followed up with the lawyer. Basically, she said we're going to have her pay back the savings she took through a reduction in her share of the assets. Any division of assets will include the savings she took. She'll also have to repay the money I spent maintaining the household while she was gone. There's plenty of equity in her share of the house and her retirement plans to cover that. She said that our finances are so intertwined after nearly 25 years of marriage, my wife is going to get some share of the assets. Best case is she agrees to the terms of the divorce and it's relatively cheap and quick. Otherwise, it gets complicated and expensive. She gave me a lot of options on how much I can expect to spend, so I decided to just mostly wait. I got a couple of credit cards with promo rates for purchases and transfers that gives me breathing room and I can conserve cash. I'll just pay them off when I sell the house. Now that my financial situation is less stressful, I'm actually enjoying her being gone. I'm free to do whatever I want, whenever. I don't have to cook or clean or take care of anyone. The house is quiet for the first time I can remember. I loved my wife, but her mental health weighed down our marriage. On balance, it was worth it until now. The first month or so, I expected her to be there whenever I'd get home. When someone was at the door or if I heard noises, I would think it was her. I'd check the doorbell cam obsessively. I'm not looking forward to her returning. It has to happen, but when she comes back, I'll have to deal with her. The divorce, getting the house ready to sell, dividing our stuff, finding a new place to live. I'm hoping she'll stay away until after New Year's, but my daughter said she thinks her mom will be home for Christmas, either to stay or visit. My lawyer will have papers ready to serve her. Hopefully, she'll just agree to the terms and continue her travels. I am infuriated on your behalf. The audacity of, my husband is so great for letting me take this trip. The petty in me hopes she'll be home for Thanksgiving because I want her world to explode. OP. She's told her family she won't be home for Thanksgiving. Nobody told her my daughter and I are spending Thanksgiving with her family though. She can see the post of us having a good time without her. Please change the locks on your house so she can't just waltz back in while you are out one day. I'm so angry for you. I've been married for 23 years, and if my husband did this to me, God help anyone between me and him. OP. She left her keys. I changed the code on the security system, the passphrase, and the password. I also found a new hiding place for the emergency key we had in the backyard. So she's just going to blow through all the money and then assumes you'll take her back and care for her when dementia hits her? OP. That seems to be her plan, but it's not mine. Am I the jerk for walking my daughter down the aisle when my husband has been her stepdad since she was 10? I lost my first husband when my daughter, Calla, who's 24 now, and Hawthorne, who's 26, were only 6 and 8 years old. I remarried 4 years later. I met my husband a year after losing my late husband. We were friends for several months, dated some, stronger feelings developed, and I introduced him to the kids to see how they would get along. We halted for a year while my kids and I did some therapy because their reaction to my husband was strongly negative, because they didn't want to replace their dad. But once therapy was ongoing, they were doing better. From there, things moved faster, but the kids were on board for things to move on. They were clear, however, that my husband was not going to be filling the role of a dad in their lives. My husband said he was fine with that as long as he was respected and they could work towards being a caring family. Calla and I were always close, but she was a real daddy's girl. Losing her dad was extremely tough on her. She did form a nice relationship with my husband, but it comes nowhere close to the bond she had with her dad. From the age of 12, she and I became much closer. I think my parenting style, as well as my willingness to talk about her dad, even after I remarried, made me someone she felt she could be open with. She was 15 when she told me if she ever got married, she would want me to walk her down the aisle and for us to do a mother-daughter dance instead of a father-daughter dance. I told her we could dance to the song her dad used to sing to her. She said she loved the idea. Even though she seemed to mean it, I always assumed things would change when she got older. I figured she would choose to walk alone, or for her brother to walk her down the aisle, or with her husband. But when she got engaged 3 weeks ago, she asked me right away. She brought up our past conversation and told me she wanted exactly that. I told her I would be honored. We cried tears of joy together. I told her that her dad would be so proud. My husband took the news in a way I did not expect. His first question was whether I suggested she ask both of us to do it, and I told him no. Then he asked if she ever considered asking him, and I said I could not answer that for her. He asked me if I thought of him when I said yes. He asked whether I gave any thought to all he has done for Calla, for both kids, and the fact he's still not looked upon as a fatherly figure after all of these years. I told him I did not think of him when asked because I was overjoyed. He told me I should have given him a lot more consideration and I should have tried to compromise with my daughter. I thought he would change his stance, but now 3 weeks in and he feels that I was wrong. He told me he felt he deserved more from all of us, but especially me. He said I'm his wife. I should be working on making sure he's respected and honored for his contribution to the kids' lives. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Your husband should respect your daughter's wishes. Although I wonder, does he feel entitled because he's the stepfather, or is he contributing financially with the wedding? If it's the latter, maybe that's why he feels that way. Either way, it's your daughter's decision. Not the jerk. Your husband is dead wrong. This isn't about him and all he's done. It's about Kala. She lost her dad, and while the grief fades a bit over the years, big events bring it roaring back. Her wedding is going to be bittersweet. She needs her parent, the one she's always had and who loved her dad, to give her away. I'm surprised that you expected Kala to change her mind, and I'm glad you accepted and did not try to offer any alternate suggestions, thereby ruining the moment. I'm not sure what your husband thinks he deserves, but he's coming off as quite selfish and entitled. Y'all went to therapy while you were on pause with him, but has he ever been? He needs it. While I do think it's nice to generally consider others' feelings, she doesn't owe it to her stepdad / your husband to apologize about this. She's been clear about what she wanted for years. He's the one who decided he should be given the role when he was never promised it. She's not responsible for his feelings. You aren't either, OP, so while you can show empathy and try to understand where he's coming from, he owes you and Kala the same. Empathy and understanding someone else's perspective that doesn't center him. You're the jerk, and so is she. Stay away from single moms. You will never come first to her or her kids, and you will always be something they settled for, a walking ATM since the real father is not there. This man literally spent the last 14 years providing for this brat, and she still has zero respect for him. Sorry, but if you're dumb enough to marry a single mom, don't be surprised when it finally clicks that you aren't the real father and you will never be respected as one. And have fun looking at pictures of your wife's true love in your house every day, since Reddit thinks you have no right to control whether or not pictures of this man go up in your house. Wow, you sound so bitter. Who hurt you? As a single mom myself, all I can do is laugh at your stupidity. Walking ATM? What exactly do you expect? For us to look for deadbeats who can't afford to provide anything for us and our kids? My first husband was a complete loser who refused to even work from day one. And you think I should have stayed with him? We want kind men who aren't afraid to step up and play the fatherly role for our kids. Will they ever be the real father? Of course not. But a good man will understand that and do everything he can to fulfill that role as if our kids were his own. It's an honor to be a father, biological or not, and you sound like you absolutely don't deserve to be a stand-in father to anybody's kids. With your attitude, I doubt you ever will. Have fun being lonely and single the rest of your life, because no woman in the right mind will ever give you the time of day. Oh gosh, quit projecting. Unlike you, I have an actual family. Look at my post history. My wife and I have been married for 10 years and we have 3 kids. Sorry, but the only one who's going to be lonely and single is you, stuck with those kids you decided to have with a man who you claim refused to work. Yet you had multiple kids with him. You sound like a real catch, and I'm sure your kids will grow up to be wise and intelligent just like their mother and father. LMAO. Am I the jerk for telling my parents it's not my job to provide for my siblings when they cannot? I, 20 female, am the oldest of 4, and I do not live with my parents anymore. Our relationship is not good either. One of the biggest reasons is my parents flipped the script with my siblings when it came to gifts for Christmas and birthdays. My siblings are 16, 14, and 11, so 4 years between me and their next kid. I know it's a bigger gap than, say, 2 years, but it's not huge either. Yet they parented them so differently and spoiled them. For me, gifts were needs and not wants, and I was told I should be appreciative of having food in my belly, a roof over my head, and clothes on my back. If I asked for something I wanted, they would tell me I didn't need it. I didn't need a doll. I didn't need art supplies. I didn't need a toy kitchen. They never ever said that to my siblings. They would get dolls, action figures, bikes, trampolines, paint sets, jewelry, all kinds of fun toys. They also got cell phones and tablets when they got older. I normally got clothes. Sometimes I would get cheap, basic hygiene products, body wash and stuff. My parents made it a huge point to nip it in the bud when I was upset with my underwhelming gifts, especially when my siblings came along. They told me that they were babies, they were little, etc., but that energy was never there for me. I do resent it. Yeah, I had all the basics, but my siblings had so much more than that. My siblings are also very spoiled and entitled because of it. My sister, who's 16, used to bug me and get frustrated with me for not having nice stuff that she could borrow. She asked me once what was the point in having a sister if she couldn't raid my closet. I told her it wasn't my fault our parents didn't buy me nice stuff like her. She laughed and told me that's what being the oldest means. My brothers would tell me to buy them stuff and say they got pocket money, so I did too. But I never got pocket money. When I explained that I didn't get it, it would end up with them saying I was a baby. I moved out of my parents' house and in with my aunts. I stayed with them for several months when I started college, and now I share an apartment with some friends while we all attend college. I also work. My parents have fallen on hard times now, and right before Christmas. They told me they don't have the money to get my siblings what they want for Christmas, and told me I need to let them borrow money or buy the gifts on their behalf, and they would pay me back. I told them it's not my job to provide for my siblings when they can't. They argued that my siblings would be disappointed to get nothing from their wish list. I told them they don't need nice gifts. They only need clothes and food and a roof over their heads, and they have all that. My parents said I'm a terrible big sister. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. First and foremost, it's not your responsibility to provide for your siblings. As you said, they have everything they need, along with nice things they already have. It's your parents' fault for raising your siblings in a way that they will be unhappy if they don't get things from their wish list. Not that gift giving should be about getting credit, but because you'd be helping pay for the gifts, it's not like you'll be getting any of the credit either. If they're only able to get a couple of gifts they want, you're not going to get any credit for helping out to make that happen. In fact, your parents are already using this as a way to guilt trip you, so if someone complains, I have no doubt they'll use you as a scapegoat. My jeweler husband won't give me jewelry for gifts. Am I the jerk for getting them myself? My spouse and I are both jewelers. You'd think this would make gift giving easy. Wrong. For the past 5 or 6 months, I've been asking my spouse for a very specific necklace for my birthday and the holidays. I showed him photos, gave him the designer's contact info. Every time he'd ask, "What do you want for your birthday?" I'd say, "That one necklace." Well, the day is almost here. Husband has zero plans made for anything, and as for the necklace, he informed me he doesn't feel it makes an appropriate 50th birthday gift. What? We are literally jewelers. We make a living selling jewelry to be given as gifts. This is literally what we've done for decades. So it's appropriate for someone else, but just not me? That totally bizarre and bewildering statement aside, I got the necklace for myself after spouse confirmed he didn't buy it and didn't plan to. Now he's upset that I got it at all. He sneered when I told him I got it via trade. Remember, we're both jewelers, and he more or less scoffed. No congrats, no happy you finally got it, just a sneer and an eye roll. And a left-handed comment like, "I don't even know why you like that necklace so much. I don't get it." It's the designer's #1 seller, by the way. So, am I the jerk for getting it myself? He wasn't going to do it. He went so far as to say it was inappropriate as a gift. It's not. It's just a gold link chain, and I really truly did want it. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. I can't imagine stating over and over what I want and essentially being ignored or belittled each time. He's made every excuse to not give it as a gift, and you finally responded correctly by buying it yourself. It very much seems that, for whatever reason, he wasn't going to give it to you and did not want you to have it. Honestly though, if your descriptions of his behavior is accurate, I'd wonder what's underlying this. It's strange behavior for a loving relationship, and it seems like something more is going on. If you want the marriage to be healthy and functional, I would think it's necessary to address the deeper issue. My ex would never get me what I asked for. I never gave specifics, just said and pointed at things and said, "That would be a great gift for me." He later told me that he never bought me flowers because I wanted them so much. Mean, awful man. Not the jerk. There was a ring I loved and had asked for it for Christmas from my boyfriend. The design name was my own name, and it had my favorite stone in it. It wasn't an engagement ring, and I had no interest in it being one, but he refused to buy it. So I went out and bought it myself. It's still my favorite piece of jewelry, and I still wear it nearly 10 years later. Best bit is that a couple of years ago, after we broke up, he saw me and commented about me still wearing his ring. I just laughed and reminded him that I'd bought it for myself. Not the jerk. It doesn't matter why you like the necklace. You wanted it for your birthday, and the fact he didn't get it for you and was a jerk about it says a lot. If he wasn't going to get you the only thing you asked, then what was he going to get you? Plus, if he wasn't going to give you what you wanted, then you can get it yourself. Like Ariana says, "I want it, I got it." You're the jerk. Reading all these superficial comments makes me so happy that I'm married to a woman who's smart enough to see through the jewelry industry. We laugh at how much money people waste on that kind of stuff. Your husband probably understands the industry and knows what a scam it is. Crazy that even after working in it for so long, you're still blind to it. And to all of you complaining about your husbands not buying you diamonds, please do a bit of research into the blood diamond industry. This whole industry was created a long time ago to trick you and make massive profits off of your husband's money. Again, thank goodness I married a woman who is smarter and much more mature than all of you, and who doesn't cry when I buy her the wrong diamonds for Christmas. No wonder you take your husbands to the cleaners when you leave them. All you care about is consumerism. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know.
I know I'm probably the odd one out here, but I haven't cared about what someone got me as a gift since I was like 8 years old. Like as an adult, I don't even want gifts. I just want to spend time with people I love. If I want something, I'll buy it with my own money.
Yeah, Karen, you're definitely the odd one out for feeling that way. On Reddit, that is. I had the best first date. Then he deleted his account. I, 27 female, had the most amazing date of my life last night in the 2 years I've started looking since being divorced. We were meeting at a Thai food restaurant. He showed up with a bouquet of flowers. No one has ever done that for me before. I was so shocked and it was so touching. The conversation was smooth and enjoyable. We both couldn't stop smiling. When we finished dinner, he asked if I would want to go and get ice cream. We both are sober, so drinks were out of the question, but neither of us wanted to say goodbye yet. We got ice cream at a local shop and then sat in my car listening to our favorite songs. We stayed there for 3 hours in the parking lot until midnight after they closed. We kissed and hugged a lot. It felt very natural. He gave me the best compliment and said he feels like I'm a very sweet human being and can tell that I'm genuine and caring. That compliment stood out to me since anyone can comment on looks, but it takes someone who's more invested to acknowledge parts of my personality. He asked to see me again on Friday, but then followed up by asking if he could see me today instead. I said absolutely. This morning I had a notification from my dating app, so I opened it up and saw that he had deleted his profile. I don't want to overthink or read into things, but is that typical? Should I ask him about it or just wait and see if he says something? Update. I ended up removing my first post because I was getting comments telling me that he was going to ghost me and it was a red flag. I got anxious and annoyed because we had a second date planned and that was just not true. It will not let me comment on my old post, so I'm sharing a new one instead. Yesterday, he picked me up since he lives close by. We went and got coffee and walked at a local train until it got dark. I invited him back to my place because I had baked a homemade bread and I wanted him to try it. He ended up telling me that he deleted his profile because he really wants to focus on me and feels hopeful about us. He says he understands that there's a chance it might not work out, but he doesn't want any distractions and wanted to be respectful. We had a wonderful time together and ended up falling asleep on the couch watching movies. He invited me to come to his house on Friday where he will cook me dinner. After 2 years of terrible first dates, I'm very optimistic. I know people told me to watch for love bombing, but I've been in therapy for 3 years for an old relationship, and it really doesn't feel like that to me. Sometimes it's okay to be vulnerable and intentional. I think this guy is a very big green flag. Am I the only one who thought the dude deleted the app because he wasn't looking anymore? He sounds a bit too good to be true, but hoping this is real and a horror story isn't going to follow. I honestly just thought that he deleted it because he didn't need the account anymore because he found her. Maybe reading this subreddit hasn't made me as jaded as I thought. My girlfriend of 7 months won't allow my parents to move in with us even though I own the house that we live in. My girlfriend, Alice, who's 34, and I, 34 male, have been together for a while now. Although we're not married, we both live in my house. We were discussing marriage options though. The thing is, my parents are getting older and I've recently moved to the USA. I wanted them to remain together with me, and so did they. I offered to bring them over here and they were agreeable to the idea. But I didn't want to leave them alone or to just get a house for them like that, so I asked them to live with me. When Alice heard about this, she was against the idea. She said that I can't just invite someone else to live with us, and I told her that it was not just someone else and that we're talking about my parents. She said that she does not want that and asked me why I'm even doing it. I told her, well, they're my parents and I want to look after them. I'm not asking you to do that either. She protested by saying that I'm valuing my parents more than her and asked me to just get them to an old age home or something. I lost my temper at that and told her to mind her own business and that it's against my values to just abandon my parents once they get old. It resulted in a full-blown argument, and in the end I told her, I get to decide who lives in my house, so don't interfere with my affairs. She's now sour with me and is not talking to me, but I wonder whether I did anything wrong. Am I the jerk? Edit. I told her about it to discuss it with her, in the sense that I let her know beforehand in advance, so that she could prepare for it and to also get her opinion, but she was against it from the very beginning. But as they are my parents, I did not want her approval per se, if that makes it clear. And no, she doesn't pay the rent. She's from the same culture as I am and has taken care of her parents before. Not in the same way I did, but she's done a lot for them herself. Another edit, as some deemed it necessary. We've been together for around 5 to 7 months. You completely dismissed your girlfriend's feelings, and you wonder if you're the jerk? Yeah, you are. It may be your house. That may give you the raw power to authorize your parents to stay, but your partner has wants, desires, and needs and feelings too. And it would be a huge shock to suddenly go from living with a partner to living with them and their parents. You didn't even discuss it. You just decided you had the power to do it, and you did it. Then you basically told her to shut up when she voiced concern. It may very well end up being you living with your parents with no girlfriend in the picture. I'd certainly have serious doubts about committing to a future with someone whose attitude is that if they have the power to do something they want to do, then they're just gonna do it, and I can go buzz off. You're the jerk. Yes, it is technically your house, and your feelings are understandable, but the fact that you're moving 2 people who will need a certain level of care into the house that you share with your partner, there was no discussion, and apparently there's no room for compromise. I doubt you would have done this to a roommate, much less a serious romantic partner. You can move your parents in, but I'd expect your girlfriend to move out, especially if you come from a culture where the automatic burden of care goes to the female members of the household. Dude, she's gonna dump you and move out. You may not be wrong about deciding who can live in your house, but you're definitely the jerk about it, and you're going to destroy your relationship. You're the jerk. Also, you may have wanted to hear her opinion, but it's clear that whatever her opinion is doesn't matter to you because your mind is made up. Not the jerk. Good thing you hadn't married her yet, or she'd be divorcing you and taking half your stuff. It's your house, my guy. She owns no part of it. There is no reason for you to require her permission at all. All you have to do is tell her, I've decided my parents are moving in with me on this date. Hopefully you'll be cool with that, but if not, I understand and we'll have to go our separate ways. Like, you've been dating her for 6 months. Reddit is crazy for thinking you need to discuss this and get her permission before making your decision. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know.
How dare he bring his parents to America and allow them to live with him when his girlfriend of 6 months isn't okay with it?
Careful now, Karen. You know some people are going to get ticked off at you for agreeing with OP.
They can be as ticked as they want. It's his house and they've been dating for 6 months.
Karen refused to pay me for my work, so I sued her. This happened several years ago. I was working 40 hours a week programming at my main job, but I did occasional small projects in the evenings and on weekends for other clients. At one point, I was referred to a large company that runs major stadiums and event venues around the country. One of their stadiums is relatively close to where I live. I'll just call them Mark 1 for this story. The saga begins. This manager at Mark 1 said they wanted a simple administration database and user interface for employee timekeeping. Apparently, the old system they had was not working for them. I got details of what they wanted and drafted a set of specifications. Told them I could write the system to the specs for $2,000 flat fee. They agreed. I immediately went to work and I churned out a database and UI for the system with full documentation in about 2 weeks. So I scheduled an in-person meeting to show them. Now, when I showed up at the meeting, someone representing the security department was there, and he asked about getting some additional features. Sure, I told him, I can do that. So I went back, wrote up a change request, and incorporated the additional features into the platform. I scheduled another meeting with Mark 1 for a couple of days later. When I got to that meeting, I noticed the audience had grown. There were 2 extra people from the finance department. Can you add feature X, feature Y, and feature Z? They asked. Sure, no problem. So I left, wrote up a CR, and added the features. A few days later, I met with them again. Imagine my surprise when the audience size had grown and the new attendees asked for more features. This went on for about 5 more rounds, and I was getting frustrated that I had spec'd out a 2-week project that was now taking months, and I wouldn't be paid until I delivered, and they accepted the final product. But I chugged along implementing all their change requests. But one day, the Mark 1 manager called me. Apparently, she had been speaking with other departments that weren't represented in her status meetings of ever-increasing mass. She gave me a list of dozens of new features they wanted, some of which would require a complete redesign of the core database and an overhaul of the UI. I had had enough. I told her, "This is a complete overhaul of the original spec. I'll have to redesign and rebuild this from the ground up."
"Well, that's not my problem,"
she responded. "Well, actually it is. I'm not going to design and build an entirely new system until you pay me for the current one, built to the specs that we agreed on." After a short pause, she dropped a bomb on me.
"Well, we're not going to renegotiate. You can consider this project canceled."
"That's not how this works. You still have to pay me for the work I've done."
"No, I don't. You haven't delivered anything. Sue me."
And she hung up. Cue the malicious compliance. Meet me at the courthouse. I took Mark I's manager's advice and went to the courthouse the next day to file a small claims court to recover $2,000 from Mark I. On my court date a couple of months later, I went down to the courthouse and was greeted by an arbitrator. In my state, they have court-appointed arbitrators meet the litigants when they arrive to see if the parties can sort out the case with an agreement to maximize the judge's time. The arbitrator asked me, "Is there anything you would agree to resolve this immediately?" I thought about it and said, "If they'll pay me 90%, $1,800 right now, I'll drop the suit." He then went into a slide room where the Mark I manager and the corporate lawyer were hanging out. I heard her screaming that they would rather pay it all or pay zero. The arbitrator came to me with the news, and I told him, "I heard, and I'm happy to take it all." He laughed and said no, they want to go to trial. Fast forward a couple of hours, and we're standing in front of a judge. I'm at my table alone, and the Mark I manager and lawyer are standing at the opposite table. The judge asked Mark I manager to tell her side first. She went into a very long speech about the project and corporate America and apple pie and all sorts of stuff. I stopped listening about 28 minutes ago. She talked non-stop for at least 30 minutes. Then the judge asked me for my story. Now, I wasn't maliciously ignoring Mark I manager's long-winded rant. I was actually formulating a strategy. I thought to myself, the judge probably had people who like to speechify in front of him all day, every day. I also thought he might appreciate a short and sweet story that got straight to the point and didn't waste his time. So I said, "Your Honor, they agreed to pay me $2,000 to design and build a software system for them. I completed the work based on the agreed specs, and then they decided to cancel the project after I was done." That was it. Then the judge asked me, "How do I know you did the work?" I had printed out the specs, change requests, documentation, and source code the night before. I lifted a ream of paper, 500 pages, from my table and offered it to the bailiff. "Here's the code I wrote for them, Your Honor." The bailiff came to take it from me, and the judge waved him off. "No need, I can see it from here." The judge then asked Mark I's manager, "Is this true?" She looked like she was in a daze.
Yes?"
Then I fined for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. About a month later, Mark I still hadn't paid. So I called the county sheriff and explained, sent him the court judgment documents, and he said, "No problem, they'll pay." The sheriff actually called me later that day. He was on a cell phone, and I could hear him talking to the Mark I manager. He told her, cut a check for $2,000 right now, or he was going to rip your computer out of the wall and auction them off until the judgment is satisfied. I don't know if he had that authority, but the sheriff seemed to have a grudge against Mark I, and he was reveling in the opportunity to dog them out. Apparently, Mark I believed he had the authority because, long story short, the sheriff had a $2,000 check in his hand about 15 minutes later, and it was in my mailbox about a week later. Am I the jerk for breaking up with my boyfriend over the orange peel theory? I was scrolling through TikTok when I saw a post about the orange peel theory, which, to sum it up, is when you ask another person to do a small task for you, like peeling an orange or asking them to tie your shoes for you. Both of these are tasks that you could do by yourself. The real test is how they respond to you. If they respond with, "You can do it yourself. Can't you do that?" I guess. Then they are not willing to do small tasks for you and will most likely fail to do larger tasks for you in the future. However, if they do it willingly or take the initiative to do it immediately, then they pass in a way. Now on to the situation. My boyfriend of 7 months was sitting on the couch when I saw the TikTok video explaining the theory, and I decided I should try it out. Up to this point, we were happy, but now looking back on it, I'm not surprised by how he responded. I asked him to tie my hair up for me, and he looked at me and asked me why I couldn't do it. At first, I thought that maybe he was intimidated by my long hair. However, he just had long hair in the past, so he knows how to tie it up. I asked him again, thinking it was just a fluke, but he told me that I could do it since I was in the kitchen and he needed to relax, stating he'd just got off work. I know what y'all are thinking. Let that man relax, he just got off. Y'all, he works from home. And even if he was truly tired, he has plenty of energy to play games and go out to the bar with his friends. Regardless, I honestly didn't want to break up and thought it was dumb to throw a relationship away over a TikTok. Well, that was until later in the day when I asked him if he could toss a towel in the dryer so I could be warm when I got out of the shower since I forgot to do it myself. Surprise, surprise, he never did it and just made me realize how much I do for him and his daughter that is not even mine. And I think I've fed, held, and changed her more than he has. So Reddit, I ask you, am I the jerk if I go through with this? Edit. I admit that I should not have taken advice from TikTok and that it showed immaturity to do so. However, I disagree on the fact that what happened wasn't a big deal. The method worked and made me see that I do a lot more for him than he does for me. Our relationship is not going to end because of my towel not being warm or my hair not being up, but because I realize that I'm just settling for a lazy man who doesn't take me out, doesn't help me out with his baby, and has no motivations in life except to live at his parents' house, play video games, and drink, all while taking advantage of what I do for him. In my mind, since we are so new, 7 months, these problems are foreshadowing what's to come, and I see no future with him or his baby. Update. First, I would like to thank you for how brutally honest the comments were. And no, I'm not 12, I'm 22. I would also like to clear up some things. First off, I didn't mean to make it seem like I was testing him like a crazy girlfriend who sets her boyfriend up for failure. I simply used the theory to see what he would do out of curiosity and came to the realization that I was giving 90% while he was giving 30% into the relationship. The theory helped me take off my rose-colored tinted glasses and truly see just how much I'm doing without an ounce of appreciation. As for the ones who are saying that they would also refuse the small tasks, this simply does not apply to me. If my partner asked me to tie his shoes, I would be down on one knee because I feel like it's a simple way to show love. Previously, I had never asked him to do something that I could do myself since I'm relatively independent. This was not the case for him since he uses me for almost everything. Babysitter while he goes out, nighttime nanny, chef, cleaner, washing machine, chauffeur, etc. As I took time to read the comments, there was a lot of reflecting and I knew I had to talk to him and give him a chance to work this imbalance out. I texted him and told him we needed to talk and he asked me for a ride to my house since his mom was out. I picked him up, but to my surprise, he had his baby. So I asked him if we could just stay in the driveway and talk. He told me that he was hoping we could talk on the way when I asked him on the way to what? He told me that his buddy wanted to meet up for drinks and I just lost it and told him to get out of my car. I just let out everything I was thinking and feeling. He looked very confused, but then he changed his tune and started blaming me, saying I was waiting too long to tell him this and that his daughter is already bonded to me. She's about 1. I'm not sure what to do. I went home and my phone was filled with messages from his mom saying I needed to step up and be a good mom and future wife. The thing is, I don't want to be either. Lastly, I know you guys don't like the orange peel theory, but I think I dodged a bullet. Or the ones who feel bad for him, he dodged a bullet. Relationships aren't always even, but OP was feeling like her emotional needs weren't being met. She took the next responsible step and made a plan to talk to her boyfriend about it. That's what you do when you have a problem. You sit down and talk about it. Even when you don't believe there will be a change, it's best to give them a chance. Unfortunately, while the boyfriend agreed to meet, it appears his plan was to pawn the baby off on her while he went out with a friend. Sorry, but when you schedule a time to talk about your relationship and the other party won't take that seriously, what are your options except call it quits? I'm not a fan of petty tests, but I'm a huge fan of the thinking of provoked and OP. Better to leave a bad relationship earlier rather than later. I think the hair tie test was stupid. I'd probably say no too. But the towel thing was the real test that she wasn't even trying, and that gave her the results she needed. She definitely dodged a bullet, but I think observation would have shown her the same thing. I mean, it does sound silly, but it totally paid off in this instance. He was just using her as a free babysitter. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her boyfriend? Or ex-boyfriend? Please let us know.
Hey Reddit boy, go get me a McFlurry.
What's wrong? You forget how to drive or something?
I knew you'd fail the orange peel test. I'm divorcing you.
It's us or grad school. I used to work for a company that advertises knights, horses, and real weapons. If you know, you know. I was a follow spot operator. Basically, you point the big light at the horsey man to highlight them. The company didn't seem to like hiring extra people for that position, and in hindsight, the turnover rate was pretty high. Plus, pay was $10 an hour. This is all important. During my work there, I had major surgery, which had me out for 2 months, requiring quitting and hiring back. That never seemed to be an issue. A few months after that, I developed a pre-septic bacterial infection to a mild form of sepsis. My fever was 103 and my heart rate kept going up. I was sick. This necessitated me being out for a week. However, for some reason, I had to miss an extra night of work and forgot to call in, largely because my meds knocked me out. This was my bad. Again, important. At the same time, I'd been accepted into graduate school and I had a class that met one Saturday a month. I was called into my boss's office to discuss the no-call, no-show. The conversation went as follows. Manager: "Hey, OP, you did a no-call, no-show. That's pretty bad." Me: "I'm sorry. I sent you an email and a doctor's note after, as soon as I could. I understand this is an issue though." Manager: "Well, you've been written up for it, but that's not what's concerned me enough to call you in today." "Oh?" "You're asking for a Saturday off every month. That's our highest attendance day. We can't do that." Me: "I thought with enough advance notice, you could schedule around me." Manager: "See, that's just the problem. We've had to constantly lean into your needs, and now it's time for you to consider our needs and your team's needs." What are you saying? It's either us or this class. I need this class for full-time attendance. I can't drop it. Manager smugly: "Well, I guess we'll just have to see where we are in 2 months." Okay. I left his office and told my coworkers that I liked goodbye. Then I clocked out. He comes storming out to my truck, screaming at me, asking how I could quit on him like that. I told him he wanted me to choose between grad school or this rinky-dink job, and I made my decision. I then took off the costume belt and handed it to him, saying I'd bring the rest back when I had time. A week later, I got my first real stagehand job that paid $20 an hour. So yeah, forget you, dude. I have a master's now, and I'm set to start teaching at colleges this next semester, and I'm a pro stagehand. Never give your employees crappy ultimatums. Am I the jerk for saying that my sister should follow my parents' suggestion when it comes to her wedding on Thursday? My sister is getting married. The wedding is on Thursday, the 23rd, and instead of doing a big traditional affair, her and her fiancé opted out of all of the normal wedding things. They're going to the registry office to sign the papers, and then they're going out to dinner. They chose Thursday because they both have the day off. They work in a hospital and they don't always have weekends off. They invited me, my parents, my brother, and her fiancé's dad to witness them signing the papers and to eat dinner with them because they both have to work the following day. We all think this is a great idea and we're happy for them. There's just one thing my parents suggested. My brother struggles with time blindness. It's debilitating to him. Even if he sets alarms or reminders to take medication for ADHD, it still affects his life. It has also affected his jobs and his relationships. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you how much it affects him. He's currently out of work because of it, and he's missed things such as flights, sporting events, and other life events because of it. I cannot stress how debilitating it is for him, even if he has someone there reminding him and trying to get him out the door on time. Here's the issue. The registry office is so busy that you're required to make an appointment. You cannot just walk in. It's the same for the place my sister and her fiancé want to have dinner at. A reservation is required. Knowing that my brother has trouble because of his time blindness, my parents suggested that instead of going to that particular registry office and that particular place for lunch, my sister and her fiancé should instead go to a different registry office. It is not far away or anything, and this one does not require appointments. It allows walk-ins. There are also many restaurants near the registry office, and none of them require reservations. This way, we wouldn't have to miss their appointments because of my brother. It would work out for everyone. I thought it was a good idea. However, my sister was incensed when my parents brought it up. Even though the other registry office is only one village over and going there would not change anything, she said that she won't allow our brother's issues to dictate that day. Further, she said that rather than missing the appointment, if my brother was late, they would go on ahead, and if he misses it, that's not her problem. I couldn't believe or understand why she was so incensed, and neither could my parents. I thought their suggestion was a good idea. It would allow my sister to get married on Thursday, like she wants to, without my brother's issues causing the appointment to be missed. Am I the jerk? I ask because I genuinely thought my parents made a good suggestion that would work well for everyone. You're the jerk. Unless your brother is made of liquid or gas, he can be physically brought to this event by another family member. If this is a true disability for him, he needs extra assistance from a designated family member to assist him. Not for the entire event to be rearranged, which would still not actually solve the issue. Just because the alternative office and restaurant allow walk-ins still does not prevent him from forgetting the event altogether or still turning up ridiculously late and making everyone wait potentially hours. This is 100% not a solution in any sense. My fiance is gone for the weekend and I'm enjoying myself too much. I'm 25 female. My fiance, 23 male, left a few days ago for a job. We both work in creative industries and tend to work on short-term contracts, as well as bartending on the weekends to keep money consistent. We've been living together for almost 2 years. He's left before to visit family, but this time I was excited for him to leave. Usually I feel bad when he goes because I feel like I'll miss him. Last year he had a really stressful contract. During that time I picked up some extra household chores, and since then we've argued about them. I didn't mind doing them throughout the project, but we already have difficulty dividing household chores. I take a long time to do them, and I can't tell if it's because I'm a perfectionist who cleans every inch of something once I start, or if it's because I'm not getting as much help as I'm being told I am. I feel like I've always been calling out for help. I ask for us to do it, and I get an attitude, a list of other things he has to do, like work, when we work the same jobs, and a time limit. It's not a set time limit, but his helpfulness has a battery and it gets low quickly. Even when he does a task, it's also done slow and not a good job. I have to go and tweak the work he does. We don't have the same definition of clean. His is that everything looks clean, and mine is that every inch, even the ones we don't see, should be clean. We live in a historic building, and I'm not risking bugs. Sorry. We made slight peace with it before he left. Slight. Then he actually left. I danced in the living room. I sang in the kitchen. I finished a project. I cooked myself an awesome dinner. I tidied up all of my spaces to enjoy. I went to work. I came home. It was still clean, and I danced and sang all over again. I woke up the next day, and to make a long story short, lived my best life. I'm having a blast. Then he called me to tell me how much he missed me, and I felt so weird. I'm not painting him in the best light in this story, but he truly is my best friend, my heart, my boo bear. It's not that I don't want to be with him. I'm just enjoying my own company so much that I don't miss him. He's so kind and loving, and I love him, but not being able to reciprocate that feeling left me feeling weird, and then a little resentful about the cleaning stuff. I don't want to have more fun without him. I don't want to feel relieved when he leaves, because it means I'll actually get something done. Is this fixable? It's been on and off for 2 years, this cleaning thing, but me not missing him when he's gone, I'm scared. Having some space is healthy every now and then in a relationship. You don't need to be so hard on yourself for enjoying time apart. Maybe have an open and honest conversation about your feelings when he gets back. Not saying, I didn't miss you, but saying, it felt really good to walk into a clean home. This is something I've realized is important to me. What can we do to compromise? You are perfectly entitled to some me time when in a relationship. It's perfectly normal. Don't feel guilty about it. Well, what do you think? Should OP stay with her boyfriend or not? Please let us know.
When you're a very clean person, but you live with a partner who doesn't have the same standards as you do, it can feel amazing once they're finally gone.
Am I the jerk for telling my sister to not come back to my home because of her unruly kids? Yesterday was my birthday. My sister came in from New York to spend the weekend with me and brought her kids along. I'm not big on birthdays, but I figured I'd do something small and at least spend time with my family. My sister arrived Friday night with the intention of spending the weekend. I live on the 3rd floor. Her kids woke up at 6 a.m. Saturday morning and were running in my small 3-bedroom apartment. She also has 2 teenagers who left my bathroom messy and out of order. They were also leaving lights on, turning on the heat without notifying me, running up the light and electric bill. I gently pointed these things out to her and told her that we're on the 3rd floor, and out of respect for the neighbors downstairs, we should try to keep things quiet. I should point out that I have no kids and enjoy this aspect about my life. I don't hate them or anything, and I enjoy being around them in my family, but I do get annoyed when kids are unruly and disrespectful, related or not. Anyway, she packed her things and made it seem like we were all good. Said she was staying at my other sister's house and coming back the following day so that we can celebrate my birthday on Sunday. She gave me no indication that she was upset about anything I said or did during her time here. The next day, I get a measly HBD text, and she was a no-show. She did not come to my home and left back to New York from my sister's home. I responded, thank you, but then later found out that she was upset that I asked her to control her kids while in my home. My mother eventually told me why she was a no-show for my actual birthday the following day, and I texted her and let her know that moving forward, when she comes into town, that she should stay at my sister's. She tried to act like she was unaware about what was going on, but I couldn't really give a hoot. The damage was done. Am I in the wrong for asking her to rein in her kids while they're in my home? I ended up spending my birthday alone with zero family, all because of a misunderstanding. Maybe it was deserved. Edit. The kids are aged 13, 14, and 3. The 3-year-old is very rambunctious, while 13 and 14 are always on their phones and leave messes everywhere they go. I could tell whether they were in a room or not after they left the room, depending on the condition of said room. The other sister's 2-year-old was also there. My neighbor just came in from a work trip Friday night and was most likely jet-lagged and tired. I wanted to be respectful of that. I just moved in on the 1st of November, and I'm broke and on a tight budget. Not the jerk. I'm surprised your other relatives weren't more sympathetic, but then my mother would have wasted no time in disciplining those kids. In this home, we don't behave that way. Sister sounds like one of those oblivious parents who thinks her kids can do no wrong. And it sounds like you live in an apartment, so yes, minding the noise level is important. I've seen queries in this forum about neighbors with noisy visiting kids. Sorry your family wasn't more supportive. Why didn't other family members attend your gathering? But now you know that the notion of a family only extends so far. Not the jerk, and happy birthday. My Karen sister demands I adopt her kids. My sister, 31 female, was recently diagnosed with brainstem glioma. Apparently it's big and untreatable due to the location. I'm not sure how long she has, but most likely it will shorten her lifespan by a significant amount. Apparently, she's already experiencing some bad symptoms. My sister has 3 kids, a newborn and a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. She asked me to take them once she passes on. No, we don't have family, and her ex-husband wants nothing to do with the kids since she had cheated on him for years with many men and they aren't his. She doesn't know who the dad is. Personally, I, 25 female, am child-free. My husband, 25 male, is child-free as well. I told her no for the following reasons. 1. Since we are both child-free, it would be unfair to ask my husband to make this kind of sacrifice. We both agreed to no kids when we got married. To change something like that generally means a divorce. 2. I am atheist. My sister wants me to raise them religious and to know God and take them to church. No. 3. I live in a different country where English is not the primary language. I can't teach a 6-year-old a new language when they don't know English well. 4. 6-year age gap means we didn't really grow up together, and the memories I do have, she was always awful to me, like cynical. And after she moved out at 18, we haven't talked once besides at my parents' funeral. I don't even know her kids, let alone her. She cried and called me awful, but it's my life, and ultimately I get to be selfish with it. A kid isn't an 18-year commitment, it's lifelong, and one I have decided not to take. She cheated with multiple different men and lost her husband. I don't think it's my job to swoop in and save her from consequences of her own actions. I don't feel like I owe her anything. Other people disagree. Friends of hers, whom I've never met, have been reaching out to me and calling me at all hours to leave nasty voicemails, saying I need to step up as a sister, but I just feel like she's trying to use me as her ticket out to passing and not feeling guilty. I'm going to edit so I don't have to continue to say this. I have offered to pay for DNA kits and anything else she needs to help find the fathers of these kids. She doesn't want to. Last edit. I will not be taking in the kids. It's not because I want to teach my sister a lesson or because they are less than for being a product of an affair. I brought it up because I know everyone would ask, where's the father? It's because my sister is a stranger. I haven't talked to her in over 10 years. I've never met her or her kids, and I don't want kids. My husband, yes, we talked, would leave. Realistically, it wouldn't work out. With his income, I wouldn't be able to afford the kids anyways. I'm child-free, not just because I'm selfish, like so many of you suggest, but because I have mental health issues that would prevent me from ever being a good parent. I have OCD. Not like I keep my house clean OCD, but where I need to shut a door several times until it's completely shut, or noises like dripping water drives me insane. Imagine having a newborn when sounds can drive you mentally insane. It's debilitating. My sister didn't deserve to pass on, and her kids don't deserve their fate. But realistically, their unbiological father is the one who needs to step up, not me. To those of you who said I'm the jerk, but then let me ask you, why aren't you adopting? Why aren't you fostering? Why aren't you making sure you get kids out of the system? Get off your high horse. Not the jerk. I feel bad for your sister, but now is the time to buy some ancestry DNA kits in order to search for those kids' fathers. And for the people messaging OP to step up and take the kids in if they really cared. It seems like her friends should be better candidates than an estranged sister who has no relationship with the kids. But then again, their friends would rather be flying monkeys than to step up. So, your sister is religious, but cheated on her husband and has 3 different baby daddies? How does that work? Not the jerk. You aren't obligated to take on parenting kids for any reason. The rest of the vitriol in this post was pretty unnecessary. That said, regardless of how you feel about your sister, she is a mother who's passing on and is trying to deal with all that entails, and also making sure her kids will be cared for. I don't think that has anything to do with guilt and everything to do with doing what any mother would do in this situation. Not the jerk. You didn't sign up to take on our kids. My husband and I are child-free, but we have godchildren that would be entrusted to us if anything happened to their parents. We chose that, but if we hadn't, there is no way we would just agree to it. Just because you're family doesn't mean you're obligated to do anything for anyone. If you do something, it should be because you chose to. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his sister? Please let us know. My husband stole $6,000 from my account to spend on golf clubs. I'm a nurse and have been working more hours for the past 6 months to be able to save money to fix the ceiling in our house. I've saved up $8,000 in my account, and since my husband hasn't worked since 2020, I'm trying to balance rent and utility payments. My husband is a golf enthusiast, and so are his friends. Only difference is that all of his friends are well off, and they can afford expensive golfing gear and trips. They mentioned wanting to go on a golfing trip next week and invited my husband, but he initially refused. Though he really wanted to go, but complained about how his friends bought fancy new golfing gear, while all he has is his old gear. He asked if I could lend him $6,000 so he could buy a set of golfing clubs, but I refused because $6,000 for a set of clubs is crazy expensive, especially for someone who doesn't work. He got upset and accused me of holding his employment over his head when he couldn't help it. Anyway, I thought we were over this argument, but I had discovered that he had pulled the $6,000 out of my account and purchased the set behind my back. I went home and exploded on him. He swore he'd return the money once he gets home from the trip, but I told him he had no right to take the money and spend it on a set of golf clubs while the ceiling needs fixing. He said the ceiling doesn't require $6,000 either, but the kid's room was affected too. I demanded that he return the set or pay me the $6,000 right then and there. He told me I was being unfair to him and that he's feeling stuck because his friends can afford to buy whatever, while he's being yelled at for wanting something for himself for once. I told him to get a job and buy himself whatever. He tried to tell me he'll pay me when he finds a job, which is after he gets back from his trip, but I refused. He kept begging me to let him just go on the trip and we'll figure it out later on, but I said no. If it wasn't for something as important as the ceiling, I would have maybe waited, but he's saying that I'm controlling of his life. Edit. First of all, I'm getting too many comments. I'm too overwhelmed to respond. People that are suggesting I return the clubs myself, I can't because he never brought them to the house. I've never seen them and I don't know where he's hiding them. I suspect his brother's house, but I'm on really bad terms with him and can't go to his house. So the argument now is just him pushing to get me to stay quiet until he gets back from the trip, but I'm putting my foot down and refusing. Not the jerk. This is a massive red flag. He stole from you. $6,000 is a lot of money, and if he's not working, how on earth is he going to pay you back? The fact that you're working your butt off to repair the ceiling, which is a major need, and he thinks that golf clubs are far more urgent than home repairs, really shows how childish he is. By her picking up even more shifts at work, probably. I can't get over how much of a jerk this guy is. He stole the $6,000 from OP's account. Yep, if it's not a joint account, then OP needs to report this to the bank and police, kick the deadbeat out, and let him face the consequences. She needs to set up a new account for herself at a different bank. Then she needs to refuse to pay for his greens fees and pretty much all recreational activities out of her paycheck. By the way, how's he paying for his golf trip? He's going to be complaining about her the whole time he's away. Finally, she needs to talk to a trusted counselor, friend, minister, or colleague and inquire if they think divorce is a reasonable course of action. Not the jerk. Please get yourself a divorce attorney ASAP. Your husband hasn't worked in 2 years and thinks $6,000 golf clubs are a reasonable purchase? That alone makes me deeply question his judgment.
But the fact that he then stole your money to buy them is beyond the pale. This man is a selfish, unemployed, when literally everyone is hiring, thief, and you clearly can't trust him or his judgment. Lawyer up and get this jerk out of your life. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. Tell homeboy he might want to try another sport. Golf probably is not the best idea for a broke deadbeat. My Karen coworker lies about being part Native American. Big mistake. I was speaking with coworkers and the topic of a nearby town came up. The town has a difficult to pronounce name and my coworker made a comment about who the heck came up with that name anyways. I pointed out that it was a word from a Native American language. My coworker replied with, "Well, I'm allowed to joke about it then. I'm part Native American." My coworker appears very white. From what she's told me, her family has lived in the same rural area for years, and this is the first time she's mentioned anything about this. Curious, I asked her what nation she was from, and she said she had a Cherokee ancestor. I ask if she's registered with the Cherokee tribe, and she says no. I ask who the ancestor was, and she says her great-great-grandmother was a Cherokee princess. Here's where I might be the jerk. I'm white, and I know very little about Native Americans, but I do know that some people love to claim to be Cherokee without any evidence to back it up, and that the Cherokee Nation doesn't have princesses. I know this because my estranged aunt used to say the same thing, while everyone else in my family said they had literally never been told about any indigenous ancestry. A DNA test of another aunt proved this later on. So, and this is where I might have been rude, I tell her that the Cherokee don't have princesses, and she's probably wrong. She got really defensive and insisted it was true. I told her that a lot of white people claim to be Native, but they aren't, and that with DNA tests, there isn't really an excuse not to look into it. Needless to say, the vibe became awkward quickly, and this coworker has been ignoring me since and seemed upset with me. Another coworker said I should have just let it go and not said anything. My reasoning is, if she's going to say what she did, she better be darn sure it's correct. So, am I the jerk? Edit. This is probably my fault for how I wrote it, but I promise the conversation was very casual until the princess part. I was genuinely curious, and she seemed happy to share her answers. We aren't near the Cherokee Nation. I live in New England, and I know there are white-passing people with indigenous heritage. Not the jerk. Man, that Cherokee princess thing never ends. How many princesses did they have to have so many people descended from them? The answer is 0, of course, but man, that doesn't stop anyone. The real reason the Cherokee ancestor keeps getting handed down is that it's a way to explain why this or that kid comes out a little bit darker than everyone else. Gosh, it must be that Cherokee princess that great-great-grandma was descended from. Soft, everyone sucks here. OP, it sounds like your heart is in the right place and you admit to knowing very little about Native American history. That said, blood quantum is a very touchy subject and I'd steer clear of it because you have no figurative or literal skin in the game. As a white-passing tribal member myself, my understanding is that DNA tests are often flawed because the indigenous sample set is far too small and potentially dubious in nature. I have the good fortune of a well-documented family history on my side, going back to just before the Trail of Tears. I'm not Cherokee, but a tribe that was originally from a similar area and often gets claimed by folks who are non-indigenous as well. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or their coworker? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for wanting to divorce my husband because he wants a son? I, 27 female, have been with my husband who's 29 for 5 years, married for 3 of those years. Our marriage was perfect and we were so happy. It felt like our entire life was perfect. Church on Sunday, loving husband, beautiful home, all of it. A few months into our marriage, I became pregnant and my husband and I were overjoyed, and so was the rest of our family. My husband was especially happy after finding out that our baby was a boy, as he had always told me he wanted at least one son. I even started to try to attempt to repair my relationship with my mother so our son could have a relationship with his grandparents. I had originally cut off most contact with my mother due to how she treated my brother when he married his husband, though my brother said he was alright with my decision to try and get back in her life, since he still has love for her and my baby was her first grandbaby. However, our son ended up stillborn and it broke me. I fell into a deep depression, but my husband was there for me during all of it and we got through the grief. Our marriage felt stronger than ever and life started slowly feeling beautiful again, even if it no longer felt perfect. About 5 months ago, I found out I'm pregnant again, and then found out soon after that we're having triplets.
My husband and I were over the moon, and he was the most doting and loving husband. Since we had always said we wanted 2 to 3 kids, we agreed we wouldn't try for any more after this. Because of our and our family's excitement for the triplets, we decided to throw a baby shower and gender reveal party. We trusted my brother with the genders of the triplets, and he bought some confetti cannons with the colored streamers inside. The baby shower went wonderfully with my parents, in-laws, my brother and his husband and their daughter, with tons of friends and extended family. It was like a dream come true, and I was so excited for the gender reveal. I don't care what the gender of our baby was, I just wanted healthy little babies, but my husband was clearly excited for potentially 3 sons. When the time came, me, my husband, and my brother all shot a confetti cannon, and all 3 of them shot out pink confetti. I was so excited, and so was my brother, but my husband screamed at the top of his lungs, and he hit the table in front of us, hitting it so hard that it actually broke. He screamed at me that I was supposed to give him at least 1 son, because what happened to the first one was my fault. That's when I burst into tears. I had been so broken up about that, and a part of me had felt it was my fault, and now my husband was, the love of my life, telling me that it was. My brother immediately stepped in and tried to get my husband to calm down, but my husband shoved my brother, so my brother instead pulled me aside where I cried in the living room while my husband's mother tried to calm him down. I could hear him screaming outside about how 3 daughters is too many, how he doesn't want 4 kids, but he also wants a son. Ever since that moment, my husband has hardly talked to me. He's been sleeping in the guest room, and when we do interact, he's clearly upset and mad and tries to argue with me. I tried to talk to him about it and asked how he'll be with our 3 daughters, but he yelled and told me that he will provide for them shelter and food, but he isn't interested in having them and doesn't plan to have a close relationship with them. That sealed the deal, and I want to divorce him, and I cried myself to sleep that night. Earlier today, I confided in my mother and my mother-in-law about all of this, but they told me I can't divorce my husband just because he wants a son. I don't want my daughters to grow up in an unloving household where their parents constantly argue and their father doesn't love them. The moment my husband said it was my fault what happened to our son, I lost all love I had for him in an instant, and I don't want my daughters to be in that kind of a household. However, both my mom and mother-in-law say it's just natural for men to want sons, and that at least he isn't saying he'll mistreat them. They treated this as absolute fact and acted as if I'm being silly and I just don't know anything. I felt incredibly small and stupid. I don't know what to do. My mother and mother-in-law make me feel like I may be overreacting to my husband's behavior, but my brother says this is not normal as he and his husband are both men who absolutely love their daughter. I'm also not sure of what I'll do with myself if I divorce my husband. I don't work, and I'm not sure how I'll be able to find a job that can support me and 3 babies all on my own, or how I'll make time for all of them when I have to work. I feel so lost and helpless. I'm torn on what to do because I worry divorce will be too brash of a decision and that maybe my mother and mother-in-law are right. Am I the jerk? What should I do? First, stop sharing your feelings on this and your plans on this with your mother-in-law and mother. They made you feel like you're wrong. This guy says he isn't going to care for them right. He blamed you for the baby. You can't stay with this guy. If you get pregnant again, no guarantee it would be a boy. What then? He meant everything he said because he still isn't talking to you. Think about it. He treated you this way over something you have no control over. Chew on that for a bit. Stop talking and listening to them. You cannot stay with him. You have to know that. Not the jerk. You're not divorcing him because he wants a son. You're divorcing him because he said some truly unforgivable things. I'm so sorry about your son. Please know it wasn't your fault. Your husband is truly vile to say what he did, and that alone is grounds to end your marriage. Good luck, OP. Not the jerk. I would sleep with one eye open knowing that dude is in the other room thinking weird thoughts like that. I'd also move far away now and change my name. He ain't normal. Am I the jerk for refusing to share my inheritance with my dad and brother after discovering a family secret? My grandma, my dad's mom, left me, 27 female, my dad's portion of her inheritance, but left him and my brother, who's 30, nothing. For context, me and my brother have never met my granddad. According to my dad, he and his father had a very toxic relationship. After my dad and my mom met, they started dating in university and they had my brother. My parents then got married, which made my grandpa stop talking to my dad. A couple of years later, they had me, and we've been living happily ever after. After my grandpa passed, my dad began to spend more time with his mom. We got to also spend more time with her, and we even spent Christmas holiday at her house. She was this sweet old lady who just loved us so much. Her energy was so electric and contagious. I'm not lying when I say that Christmas as a teenager was my most favorite cherished times. Sadly, my grandma passed last year. After her funeral, I and my two aunties were called to speak to a lawyer. She had a house worth more than £500,000. For context, she lived near Oxford, and over $200,000 worth of cash and other heirlooms. When we went through the inheritance, the lawyer explained that she divided it into 3 equal parts. It was between her 2 daughters and me, who got my dad's share of the inheritance. She left her son nothing. When my dad found out, he protested and asked how that was possible, but I wasn't too concerned. During the proceedings, my grandma's lawyer, who was in charge of the inheritance, gave me a letter written by her a year ago. In this letter, to be read after her passing, she explained that her husband, my grandpa, had disowned my dad completely. This is because my dad is not my brother's actual father, as he's a child from a previous relationship my mom had. My dad met my mom when she was pregnant with my brother. My grandparents, my granddad in particular, thought this was extremely weird. He did not approve of this and was vehemently against it. My dad didn't listen and married my mom a year after my brother was born, which prompted my grandpa to excommunicate him for good. During the years, my grandma stayed in contact with my dad, but we, my brother and I, did not meet her until after my grandpa passed. The thing is, neither my brother nor I knew that my dad wasn't his biological father. A day later, my dad called me to discuss the inheritance, but I didn't want to meet him. He doesn't know that I know, and I don't know how to tell him that I know. I haven't received any money yet, but based on this, I feel like I will not share it. My family are understandably calling me greedy, but I just don't really trust them anymore. This is already causing huge division in my family, and now I feel like dropping this news will destroy my family completely. Should I just be truthful about the reasoning, or what should I do? Not the jerk. First of all, you are not the jerk about the inheritance no matter what you decide. Your grandma had a clear reason for what she did, so it's not like there's any funny business that would make her will invalid. Secondly, it sounded like you're struggling with the info your grandma shared, and that's completely fair because it's a lot. I have some thoughts. What your dad did, choosing your mom even though she was already pregnant, and raising your brother so well that you never even suspected, that is an amazing act of love. I understand that it upset your grandpa, but from my perspective, your dad is the real hero here, loyal to your mom and loyal to your brother. I would hate it if you came out of this blaming your dad or blaming your brother, neither of whom did anything wrong. I think it's really sweet that your dad and grandma managed to reestablish their relationship after your grandpa passed. Should you tell? I don't know. In general, my instinct is that secrets fester. Now that you know this, it's going to be hard for you to hide your strong feelings. Also, keep in mind that everyone in your family knows, at this point, except your brother. Raising the topic might be hard, but reread my previous paragraph about what a loyal hero your dad is. He loved your brother because he chose your brother, along with your mother. I kind of feel like your brother deserves to know. Finally, you don't need to decide about the money right away. Your grandma dropped a crazy amount of information on you, and it's completely reasonable for you to want a while to process. You could even tell them that. As a general rule, when you get a big chunk of money, there is no hurry. You can leave it in cash for a while. You can invest in safe mutual funds. I like Vanguard. No harm in letting it sit for a year or 2 or 3 while you figure things out. People who are all excited to do something right away typically make bad decisions. What? Good man gets disinherited for being a good man, and you think OP isn't the jerk for continuing a level of spite so vicious it's reaching out from beyond the grave to inflict more harm? Yeah, OP is just a greedy jerk and is simply looking for a reason to justify keeping the money. The grandparents were trash, tried to ruin their son's family from beyond the grave, and OP is siding with them. Even worse, I wouldn't be surprised if Dad wants to talk about the inheritance, not even for himself, but to ensure the brother gets something. The brother probably feels like crap and is confused why he was left out of the will. Well, what would you do if you were OP? Would you share the inheritance or not? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for telling my husband his parents can't stay for 5 days? I, 25 female, told my husband, who's 28, that Wednesday to Sunday was too much for his parents to stay just for Thanksgiving. He said that was unfair because he doesn't get to see them often. For context, his parents live about 2 hours away, and he could literally see them whenever he wants to. His parents also have a history of visiting and extending their stays without asking. Additionally, he claimed it isn't fair because we see my parents so frequently. who only live about 20 minutes away in the next town over, which I felt was unrelated as I never pressure him to see my parents. Most times I go see them or spend time with them alone, and he has the option to join or not. I tried to explain that it isn't a competition or personal slight against his parents. I just don't want company for that long, especially when that would be the entire time I have off from work. I've been working long hours lately, and I was excited about time off to just decompress, which was a big part of me bringing this up. Long story short, he thinks I'm being unfair and should let them stay for however long they like. So, without more rambling, am I the jerk for this? Edit. Just wanted to answer some recurring questions I keep seeing. I deep clean before they come, and I do the maintenance cleaning while they're here. I usually just ask him to make their bed and to get them clean towels. I cook nearly every time they stay and handle the groceries, and he may cook a breakfast or a dinner for one of the days, but sometimes he cooks more. He does not inform me of their plans and never has. He might casually mention they're coming to stay the week of, but never says for how long or in advance. This has happened several times. This is the first time I've ever asked them to stay for a shorter time. They're still very much welcome. I just ask that they leave Friday or Saturday morning at the latest. Not the jerk. This isn't about how much you see each other's parents. It's about having them in your home for so long. You'd be trapped with them. This is the time that you're going to be off from work? That makes it even worse. Agreed. Hubs can go visit them for 5 days, and OP comes on Thanksgiving. Or as others mentioned, they can stay at a hotel. I bet if OP doesn't conveniently go on a last-minute trip or stay with family for a few days, in-laws will decide last minute to extend their stay to 1 week or longer. And I bet OP will have to do all of the hosting. Rather generous of Hubs to not worry about in-laws staying when he doesn't have hosting responsibilities. Do Thanksgiving, then go stay in a hotel Friday through Sunday. Sleep, read, get room service, and relax. Not everyone is in a financial position to stay in a hotel for a few days though. Then stay at her parents. Solved. Info. Have you presented the idea of them getting a hotel nearby for those days? It can be daunting having guests stay in your home for long periods, but it sounds like he misses his family and wants to spend time with them. It's understandable if he doesn't see them very often. Not the jerk. 5 days, your entire time off, is too long for people who only live 2 hours away. You have a husband problem. Letting his parents decide how long they'll stay is not good. Not the jerk. My husband used to try pulling this same crap with me, but I put my foot down at the beginning of our relationship. I told him no overnight visitors, no matter what. Well, the first time he told me his parents were coming to spend the weekend, I said okay. Took myself to the Hilton and had a relaxing mini vacation, courtesy of his credit card. You may pay the mortgage, but this is my house too, and if I don't want anyone staying overnight, they won't be. He learned his lesson quick, and his mom even texted me apologizing for intruding. She said she didn't know how strongly I felt about them not coming over because my husband hadn't said anything about it. I told her, gee, maybe if you'd talked to me about it like a normal person, instead of your mama's boy son, then you would have known I have no desire for you to stay over. She didn't text back, shocker, but of course she complained to my husband about me being rude, like I was in the wrong. I made him cut contact with him after that, and we haven't spoken to them in the past 6 years. They send Christmas cards, but when I'm the one who finds it in the mail, I just trash it without telling hubby. You go, girl. I know the pain of dealing with a man-child who wants mommy and daddy to stay overnight. I didn't go to the Hilton when my in-laws came over, but I did go stay at a work friend's house. He is a guy, but we are just friends and have never been anything more than platonic. Call me petty, but just to spite my husband, I said very clearly in front of his parents, there's TV dinners in the freezer. I'll be at Arnold's all night and should be back tomorrow around noon. His parents didn't say anything, but I could see the confusion on their faces. I know he had fun explaining that one to them, since boomers think we as wives should not have male friends. Some of these comments are just, ew. Why even marry a man if you're going to treat him like this? And why would these guys stay married to you if this is how you act, when he doesn't bow down to your every wish? Couples are supposed to work through their problems together, not pull this kind of crap. Sometimes I feel bad about being nearly 40 and still never married, but when I see this kind of stuff, I think I might be the lucky one. Am I the jerk for telling my friend's boyfriend that he shouldn't have been allowed to eat? Some friends and I decided to do the trend where we have a dinner and everybody brings a food that starts with the first letter of their name. There is one of our friends who's a bit of a moocher. Whenever we go out, she never pays for stuff, whether it's the dinner bill, tickets for the movies, etc. We always end up paying for her. But everyone accepts this and doesn't really have an issue with it. However, recently, it's become worse. She's been dating this guy for a couple of months, and she brings him everywhere with her, even when he's not invited. So now we have 2 people to pay for. Also, I feel like I have to say that they have jobs. They're not struggling. It would be different if they were broke. Then, of course, I wouldn't mind. But yeah, we had the dinner last night, and everybody brought food and put a lot of effort into it. These 2, however, showed up with absolutely nothing, not even a bottle of soda. We were annoyed, but nobody said anything. It wasn't until the end of the night when they were leaving that I cracked a little. The friend's boyfriend was taking home all of the barbecue ribs that were left. I repeat, all of the barbecue ribs. And it was a lot. Like, dang, be considerate at least. He emptied the entire tray of ribs into a container. That's when I politely asked, "Can you maybe not take all of it? The others might want some too." He got all defensive and asked, "Why are you treating me like I'm stealing all the food?" I clarified that I never said such a thing and that I only asked that he didn't take all of it. He got angry, plopped the ribs back and said, "Fine, I don't need your food." To which I replied, "It kind of seems like you do. And to be honest, you shouldn't have eaten at all since you didn't contribute anything, as usual." Then my friend came, took him, and just left without saying anything. Now apparently she's angry with us, mainly me. Most of my friend group doesn't think I did anything wrong, but there are a couple who are saying I shouldn't have said anything. The thing is that I didn't even say anything to my friend because I don't mind that she doesn't contribute. Her boyfriend was the one irritating me. He eats the most food, but doesn't contribute, drinks the most alcohol, doesn't contribute, orders really expensive meals at restaurants, doesn't contribute towards the bill. I guess I kind of got annoyed and snapped at him. I tried phoning her to clarify that I don't have any issue with her, but she's ignoring me. I don't know, maybe I should have just left well enough alone. You're not the jerk for this event, but why on earth do you and your friends tolerate them mooching like that? Tell them that they need to pay their own way, and do it. If you go to a movie, buy your own tickets and let them pay or leave. Get separate checks at restaurants. When the server first comes to the table, tell them you'll need separate checks. As a former restaurant employee, I can tell you that it's fairly easy to split a check if you know it'll be split before you start entering things, and a royal pain to go back and split a check you entered together. You and your friends have been complete doormats. When you let bad behavior repeatedly go unchallenged, it never stops and often worsens. Honestly, I would stop inviting them to join y'all. You all have created a mooched monster by not putting a stop to her behavior ages ago, but it's time. She's an adult and needs to pay her own way, not the jerk. Were you born a doormat, or did your parents teach you to be a doormat? Nature or nurture? I'm always curious. You know what? You're the jerk. By submitting and accepting their horrible behavior, you're only encouraging it and reinforcing it. These people are not your friends. They are users and you allow it. Grow a spine. Colleague thinks she's the big boss. This happened a few years ago. I was working for a company doing special projects that had to do with building certain products. One Friday evening, I get a call from the CFO. This guy never called me before. I didn't even know he had my number. Who liked playing at project management sometimes. He tells me that there's been a huge mistake in the project. I ask him if it was a project I was involved in. No, it had nothing to do with me, and they desperately needed people to come in on Saturday and Sunday and work because this project needs to be delivered to the customer on Monday morning, and would I be able to go? I say sure. In this company, any work on Saturday and Sunday was overtime from the first minute, and the overtime rate was good. He told me I would be joined by 5 of my colleagues, almost all of them a delight to work with, and one more person that is also a colleague, but has all of the information regarding this project, so she would lead it and tell us what's needed to be done. Let's call her wannabe genius boss lady, in a cynical way, of course. She is not in any way, shape, or form a genius. Everybody working on this project has at least 3 years experience in the company. Some have more than 10, so there wasn't any need for a babysitter. This fact matters for the rest of the story. Saturday morning rolls around and I get to location. We all meet and have some coffee and homemade cookies that my wife made for us. Genius comes in, asks us to gather around, and explains that this project was done wrong from the get-go. The company spent hundreds of man-hours on it, and it was all done wrong. And we have 2 days to not only disassemble everything that was put together, but redo it from scratch in the correct manner, which not only involved putting it back together, but also refabricating parts that were done wrong. Then she goes on to say in these exact words, "I'm your boss. You do what I say.
I have the schematics in my hand. If you don't know something, ask me, and I'll tell you how to do it."
We all look at each other with a puzzled look, but we just shrug our shoulders. Then she quickly, and I mean quickly, lays down some rules that she wants us to follow. Stupid things that just interfere with our jobs, but no one actually caught all of them. So we start working. Like I said, we are all experienced. We work in another facility that the company owns, and we're brought especially to fix this facility's mistake. All through the job, Genius does nothing except get in our way, asking stupid questions, drinking coffee, taking smoking breaks, treating people badly, and making up stupid rules as she goes. At some point, the CFO comes in and starts talking to me, and in the conversation, he says these words: "No matter what, no one works overtime. No more than 12 hours a day, no matter what." Because it's a Saturday, the rules allow us to work up to 12 hours, but more than that, and the company can get fined. Genius promises the CFO that the job will be done no matter what within those 2 days of 12 hours. Saturday's work is done after 12 hours, and we all say goodbye and leave, coming back the next day. We get to work again with her making the atmosphere worse and worse by the minute, not trusting us when we say we're going to do something, hovering over us, and generally being a nuisance. As the day goes by, we can see that we are not going to make it on time. We try to tell her that, but she's adamant that this will be done on time. I tried to explain to her a few times that seeing how much work there is, and her insisting we do not use automated tools, it's not possible to finish this in the 5 or 6 hours we have left. There was a lot more crap that she tried to pull, but I won't name all of it just to save time. She won't hear it. She says the job will be done. I'm like, whatever, dude. I'm just gonna do what I can since you won't listen. 1 hour before end of day comes around, we've all been working for 11 hours. Genius finally realizes it's not going to work. She calls a real project manager, her friend, and starts talking to him. I hear her talking on the phone, and she's blaming us for not working fast enough, and tells him she promised the CFO to have this done. I'm assuming she was betting on riding this success into a promotion or something, and she doesn't know what to do. Then she walks out of the building and continues talking out of earshot. After a few minutes of conversation, she comes back in, telling us to round up again so she can talk with us. With fire in her eyes, she goes, "Okay, you," points at a guy. "Don't leave until this," points at one of the parts of the project, "is done. You," points at me. "Don't you leave until that part is done." And she continues doing this until she counted off everybody. And then she walks off, I'm assuming for another coffee or a smoke break or whatever. Cue malicious compliance. Exactly 12 hours after arriving, we all put down our tools and start heading out the door. She's shocked, asking us, "Where are you going?" We all say we're going home. We've been here for 12 hours. She says, "I told you that none of you leave until your parts are finished and tested." To which we reply, "No more than 12 hours, no matter what," and we leave. Later on, I found out that she stayed by herself until 4 in the morning to finish it all by herself. She couldn't do it and had to go home as well. Her project manager friend came in that morning to help her finish the job. The project was late, customer came in to pick it up and wasn't happy to see it was still not packaged and ready to go. Just as a side note, with the exception of Genius, I've known each of the people working on this project for a few years. All of them would gladly have stayed longer to help finish the project. They've done this so many times in the past when called upon, if she hadn't treated us that way. We made sure to make management aware of this, and she was never given another opportunity to manage something. Karen demands Christmas dessert samples. Context: for every holiday, my mother would ask the women in the family, my sisters, sister-in-law, my wife, my female cousins, to send samples of the desserts they planned to bring to the celebration for testing and to see if these desserts could make it to the food menu. My wife has been complaining about my mother deliberately rejecting every dessert sample she sent. So many times, my mother has told her that she's being honest and keeping the guests' best interests at heart. Yet, my wife still thought that my mother was deliberately excluding her since 2 of her dessert samples were rejected before. For this year's Christmas, my mother is doing the same thing, but this time, she told every woman who's participating to make a cookie sample and send it to her for testing. My wife took it as a challenge, and to be honest, she worked really hard to make a good sample and sent it to my mother days ago, and the results just came in yesterday. I came home from work and found my wife upset. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me that my mother rejected the sample she sent and decided to exclude her from baking from the menu list and the menu for Christmas this year. I didn't know what to say, but then she told me that she was backing out of the invitation to attend Christmas with my family.
I was stunned when I heard her make this statement. I tried to talk to her, but she said it was done. I called her unreasonable to decide to bail on the whole family over some cookie sample. That's just crazy and quite unreasonable. We had a full-on argument about it, and she stated that my mother caused this, but I told her that my mother is pretty serious and careful about the food she offers to the guests, since we are going to have relatives coming from all sides of the country. She told me to stop mentioning it. Later, I heard her cry, despite telling her that her baking is amazing and people have preferences, that's all. Am I the jerk for insisting that her decision was unreasonable? Info. If you're asking whose cookie sample made it to the menu, the answer is my sister and my 2 cousins. Info. A few things to put on here. 1. My wife wasn't the only one whose sample was rejected. We have sister-in-laws, my brother's wife, and my younger sisters. My mother did not force anyone to participate. It was up to whoever wanted to take part. 3. This is just about the dessert, since my mother tends to be very careful in this category. But for other types of foods, dishes, appetizers, salads, stuff like that, it's all welcome, as she stated. Update. Great. So I just got off the phone with my brother, and he told me that his wife is doing the same thing as my wife, and that she has decided to back out of the invitation to spend Christmas with family as well. Turns out my wife must have told her about her decision, and she decided to follow her lead. My brother is upset, saying my wife is encouraging his wife to do this. I see that the problem has just gotten bigger now. Who knows? My younger sister might join in and decide not to go as well. I don't know how this got out of control so quickly. I guess we'll try to have a discussion with my mother about this and see how it goes. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but for years and years, your mother has demanded that all the women, why not the men too, in your family send in samples. For years and years, your wife has tried her hardest to appease your mother, had pushed herself to the limit, and has been left completely and utterly demoralized each and every time by a humiliating tradition enforced by the holiday tyrant. And, even worse, her shame was publicly put on display each and every year, as other family members would no doubt notice that, once again, her food was not chosen. Finally, after producing something she was unbelievably proud of, she was once again left embarrassed and most likely deeply hurt, as she was deemed not good enough for yet another year. This is the straw that broke the camel's back, and she decides she's had enough of her humiliation, and that she will not give her cruel mother-in-law the satisfaction of seeing her discomfort on such a big day. She makes a boundary that many would have made a long time prior, and her husband tells her she's unreasonable for setting up boundaries? Dude, come on. You know you're the jerk. You're the jerk. I'd never in a million years bake samples to be approved. I'm showing up with my food. Eat it or not, I really don't care. Your mom is the jerk and very, very weird. You're the jerk. Your mom is also a jerk who takes samples in and makes others feel bad because of their cooking. This tradition sucks, and I get why OP's wife doesn't want to go. Not the jerk. Did y'all read it all? Yes, she asks all the women, but it's always a yes or no thing. You either want to or you don't. Simple. This only happens in the dessert category, and you can bring whatever for any other category. She doesn't care. This idea is good because it saves the wife from even greater humiliation when she says it's good, but it's not, and she brings it to the function and no one eats it. If her food isn't good, why should everyone be forced to eat it? She can literally bring something else that isn't dessert. The mother is being honest and not biased because obviously other people were not chosen. Like, I've been to so many functions, and there's always that one plate of utter rubbish, and my mother would tell us to always try it, so the owner of the plate doesn't feel bad. Not the jerk. And your wife should stop sending samples. Your wife is married to you, not your mom. And you cannot get mad if she stops sending samples either, because it's clearly a waste of time since it's likely going to be like the same 2 to 4 family members. Keep it real. You know this. I understand the pride because she wants to feel included, but it's been 3 times and it's a blow mentally. Definitely get your wife an extravagant gift for Christmas and let it be known it's for all the delicious cookies she's giving you all year long. Cookies like love, care, passion, etc. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP and his mom or his wife? Please let us know. Just let people bring what they want. His mom's really overcomplicating this. Am I the jerk for telling my dad that I'll gladly spend Christmas with him if he gives me back my college fund as a Christmas gift? To make this brief, I, male 32, had issues with my dad after my mom passed and my stepmom came along. I hated a lot of decisions that were made, But what has left a long-lasting impact was taking my college fund to pay for my stepbrother's surgeries. Unfortunately, he's passed on. He passed last year at the age of 16 from a chronic heart problem. I keep my distance, but still see my grandparents and uncles and aunts, cousins, etc. With the holiday season coming up, Dad started talking to me through some relatives, close relatives. He went on about his overwhelming feelings of loneliness, his upcoming divorce, and invited me to spend Christmas with him because he's alone and heartbroken. As a response, I told him I'll gladly spend Christmas with him if he gives back my college fund in a form of a Christmas gift. He and the others didn't like my response. He thought this was harsh, and my relatives said that I was a judgmental, petty, greedy jerk to say this to him after he's lost so much. They said he did all he could to save his stepson, my stepbrother, which they described as noble and that he doesn't owe me a thing. I went home after a big argument with my uncle who came at me for what I said. Now I feel like crap. Maybe I should have just calmly, politely declined the invitation and not said this to him and made him feel guilty for how he handled my stepbrother's situation. Edit. I just took a look and I see that I'm getting a ton of comments here. To answer a few questions. 1. The fund was made by my dad. Mom was a stay-at-home mom and didn't work, but they both agreed that this fund would go towards my education. 2. I was able to get in college. I started working to pay my way and had some relatives help, but my uncle did so much for me, which is why I said I felt bad when he berated me. He holds a special place in my life, and he's the last person I want to disappoint or let down. Edit 2. Okay, for those who are saying the fund wasn't mine, whose fund was it then? I really don't get this. Maybe you can expand on how exactly the fund wasn't mine and to whom it belonged. Also, for those that think I'm being cruel to my dad after he lost so much, I try not to go out of my way to be mean or malicious. Matter of fact, I want little to nothing to do with him, but all this time, I've been playing nice to please my uncle and relatives, but that's it. Info. Where did the money in the college fund come from? Was any of it from your late mother? Because if it was 100% of your dad's money, that's very different than if he spent money your late mother set aside for her own kid's education on his new stepkid. Regardless, I think the problem is that your dad didn't prioritize you until he was lonely and now he wants your company. The college fund is a symptom of that, and it's not fair for dad to brush it under the rug. Edit, because people are misunderstanding. I'm not saying a stay-at-home mom doesn't contribute. Knowing this information, I believe that half of whatever was saved during OP's mother's lifetime was her contribution and should not have been spent by his dad. What I meant to get at with my question was to see if it was money that dad had saved up after mom's passing, for example. This is such a difficult situation. I do feel for OP, but I also understand dad's position, and I'd hope that OP eventually finds it in his heart to forgive dad. But honestly, if this is happening in the USA, then this country's horrendous healthcare and higher education systems are 100% at fault. They leave folks with debt and bankruptcy, and often with impossible choices to make. I'm so sorry for OP and his dad. No jerks here. Yeah, I can't get on board with OP's line of thinking about the college fund. Was his father supposed to let his stepson pass so OP can go to college and be debt-free? Not even a close choice for OP's father, in my opinion. I'm hoping OP is just young, and one day he'll see how difficult the situation was. Not the jerk. I don't understand these "you're the jerk" comments. There was a college fund in place, and it was used for someone other than you. Definitely not the jerk. Dad used the college fund to try to save someone's life. That's not a jerk move, it's a desperate father move. Like someone else said in another comment, Dad prioritized issues, not the kids. And he was the one that set up the fund. He did not use any inheritance left by OP's mom. Sorry, OP, but you're the jerk. I'm going to get hate for saying this. I'm shocked at how many people will say people don't have to split or give a college fund to a step-sibling, but will tell you that you're the jerk for being upset. Your step-sibling had 2 parents, you had 1. That parent took from your figure and prioritized his wife's kid and hung you out to dry. Would it have been nice to give them the money to save your step-sibling? Maybe, but that's not the question. Your parents or dad set aside money for you, and then your dad and stepmom used it on someone else. Your dad is a complete jerk to prioritize another kid over his own. Once it's set aside for your education, it's no longer his money to take back and definitely wasn't your stepmom's to use. Your dad's bad decisions are coming back to bite him. Now he's lonely because of his decisions, and I don't blame you for telling your dad exactly what he needs to do now to have you back in his life.
not the jerk. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his dad? Please let us know.
I think what parents should do is not tell their kids about the college fund until it's time to spend it. That way, if an emergency comes up and they have to use part of it, their kid won't get mad at them.
My girlfriend is furious with me for not taking all of her daughters shopping. I'm 26, male, and my girlfriend, who's 33, is angry with me. I've been with my girlfriend just over a year, but we've known each other for about 3 years. We have mutual friends. She has 3 daughters who are 10, 13, and 14. The oldest daughter has a different dad than the younger two. While the younger daughter's dad has contact with them and takes them every other weekend, the oldest daughter's dad hasn't been in her life since she was born. She and her daughters moved in with me after 3 months together, which I know might seem like it was too soon, but her housing situation wasn't great. She was living with a friend from work. I don't have any kids of my own, so I don't really know how to be a parent, but I've always tried my best to support my girlfriend in her parenting decisions. 2 days ago, I finished work early, so I picked the girls up from school. They usually take the bus, but I called my girlfriend after I finished work, and she asked me to pick them up. When we got home, I heated up dinner for them, and afterwards I asked them if they wanted to go shopping with me and grab some pizza afterwards. The youngest two didn't want to go. Their friend was coming over, so they decided to stay home, but the oldest daughter wanted to come with me. So I took her to the mall, bought her some clothes, a new phone case, and some other small things. Afterwards, we went to grab pizza. After the pizza, I wanted to drop her off at home. My girlfriend was already back home from work by then, as I needed to go to a rental property of mine to fix up a few things, but she said she wanted to go with me, so we did. She spent most of the time on her phone, and she tried on some of the clothes she bought and showed me. We came home around 9 p.m., and that's when the fight broke out. My girlfriend was really angry at me for only taking the oldest daughter and not her other two. So I explained the situation about their friend coming over and that they didn't want to go with me. But she claimed I was favoring the eldest, which isn't true, as I wanted to take all 3 of them. We had a huge fight about it. It was our first serious fight. The oldest daughter stepped in my defense, but that didn't help. Since then, my girlfriend has been cold to me. I offered to take all 3 of them together another time, but she said she doesn't want my pity, and I don't really know how to fix things between us. Your girlfriend is being ridiculous and taking advantage of you. I agree. You sound like a truly awesome guy, and she has no clue how rare you are. You are not at fault, and the other 2 didn't want to go, and they had company coming over. You can take them separately, which is needed for multiple kids, so they get that one-on-one time with parents. She's being ridiculous. Don't back down from this when she engages about it. I would simply state, I'm sorry you don't see the true good intent in actions here, but I did exactly as any good adult or parent would in this situation on that day, and I will discuss this no further. And don't. She brings it up again, walk away. This kind of crap is why you don't move someone in after only 3 months. At only 3 months into a relationship, you shouldn't even have met her kids yet, let alone let them move into your home. A crappy home situation is not a good reason to move a girlfriend and her kids into your house. Buddy, you need to get out of this relationship as soon as possible. This woman will ruin your life if you stick around. Find the courage to leave and never look back. Man, you need a dose of reality, bro. A. This chick has 3 kids from 2 different dads, and you thought she was wifey material? Either those dudes realized what kind of a jerk she was and didn't want to put up with her BS, or she chose to leave them and take their kids away. Each time she was more jaded than before. B. Why you so desperate, bro? You don't have any kids, but you want to settle for a chick that has 3 of them, and you let them all move in after 3 months? I get that this chick must be hot, because there is no other reason anyone in the right mind would be as much of a sucker as you are. But you need to start being a bit smarter. C. She actually taught you a valuable lesson here. She wants your resources, bro. She's had many years of fun with lots of dudes and doesn't intend to stop. She just wants a provider like you, while she will still go out and hook up with hot guys, while you stay home and babysit. She wants the weak sucker who moves her in after 3 months, who she can use as an ATM, and you were the perfect candidate. Edit. Laughing out loud at everyone who's so upset about me pointing out the truth and calling out dude for being a moron. I'm betting most of you are single moms yourself, or dudes who have to settle for them. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know.
The things some people do for love.
My fiance, 37 male, made me, 26 female, get plastic surgery just to get engaged. Now I want to call off the wedding. We've been engaged for 6 months now, and we're going to get married next spring. Our relationship has not been easy, and we dated for 2 years before getting engaged, and he broke up with me once in between for 5 months. Right now, I'm so conflicted. There was a time I was so eager to be engaged to him, and now I'm lost. First off, I kind of had to give an ultimatum to get engaged, to which he responded he has not proposed all this time because of something in my looks that he's not attracted to. He asked me to get a specific plastic surgery to correct this issue and that he would pay for it, and only then he's willing to get engaged. So I went ahead and got the surgery. Anyways, we get engaged, and I can still tell he's not that attracted to me because the surgery didn't really make a big difference. Doesn't compliment me, doesn't really touch me or initiate things with me. He doesn't complain or bash my looks, but doesn't rave about it either. But this isn't the worst of it. I'm currently in grad school, and he works full-time and makes over $500,000 a year. He's paying for the wedding, and he's rubbed it in my face on 2 occasions how I contribute nothing, and that I basically never have the right to complain about anything ever because he works so hard to pay for things. I complained once that I feel we don't spend enough quality time together. I just don't know if I'm making a huge mistake getting married to him. I don't want to be miserable. I'm so anxious. I don't feel like he loves me. He pushes me away when he's having a bad day and doesn't talk to me. I just feel kind of neglected in the relationship, but I also don't want to be a victim and consider maybe he's right about some things. Breaking an engagement off is so embarrassing, and this would be his second broken engagement, and I don't want to do that to him. I just feel really lost. How do I go about this? Edit. The surgery I got was liposuction on my legs from thighs to ankles. I've always carried weight in my lower body. He says financially successful men don't like that look. Also, to those that ask what good qualities he has, I initially thought he was very kind, helps the poor, and goes on medical mission trips. He's a doctor. He is funny, and we actually get along really well when things are good. And I love his parents so much, and I really feel for them. They're older, and they want grandkids, and they want to see their son get married. I don't think they realize how mean he can be. I'm not going to pretend his money is not appealing. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, and I watched my parents struggle as immigrants. I always wanted to make sure my kids will grow up in a financially stable environment. It's not really gold digging because I'm not a materialistic person. I don't care for expensive things, just don't want to struggle like my parents did. To those who think I can get a prenup or divorce, our culture and community is very strict. I probably should have mentioned we are Middle Eastern. We don't get divorced. It's not an option here. He ended his first engagement, not her. He said she became too obsessed with the wedding planning and felt like a different personality of her had come out after she had secured the ring. Update. We broke up today, 48 hours after my initial post and over 1,000 people begging me not to get married. The wedding is off. This is how it went. He picked me up because we had our engagement photo shoot today. He has been depressed for over a month now over a real estate lawsuit that he started. He's already been putting me on the back burner because of this lawsuit and gives me zero attention, acts like I'm an added stressor in his life. So I'm already fed up with the mopey attitude. He starts going off about how he's not in the mood to take pics today, and that it's hard for him to smile, how drained and unhappy he feels over the house. I literally exploded. With everything that's happened, I couldn't take it anymore. I told him I've never met such a literal man-child in my life. For him to break down over a lawsuit he started. He's not fit to ever be the man, the sole provider of a family, to face real troubles of life. He's never had any real issues in his life. He is literally a man-child. I told him he never acknowledged how insane it is that I went and got surgery just for him to find me more attractive. He never recognized the care and sacrifice I made for him. I did take ownership for letting this relationship drag out as far as an engagement, after he showed me time after time how unfit he is to be a life partner. It is my fault. I ignored the red flags, and I kept having hope he would change one day. Maybe if I brought him a baby, he would start to appreciate me more. Maybe seeing me as a mother, he would start to love me. I'm so glad it didn't last long enough to find out. We didn't make it to the photo shoot, obviously. He ended up driving me back home. Sadly, we wasted the poor photographer's time. His reaction throughout all of this was very minimal. So cold. He would look down and look sad, but it looked like he was pretending. He said he was sorry and he thought I deserved better than him. He said his emotional battery had run out. This was the end of it. I gave him the ring back and told him we're never speaking again. He was just going to keep moving the goalpost. OP was never going to be good enough for him. Glad she got out. The ex should remain single since no one is going to fit his standards. He just wants someone to mold. This is based off the plastic surgery requirement and how it didn't make him happy. Also, does he not understand how people carry weight differently? He probably wanted OP to be like the wives of those successful men. Why do men date women a decade or more younger than them and then get mad that they're not on equal career footing to them? I mean, I know why. It's a built-in excuse to always have a means of making them feel bad about themselves. But logically, school and work take time, my guy. It's not magically gonna go faster for her than it did for you. Try dating a 37-year-old woman in your field. But something tells me you won't, because a doctor the same age as you with the same salary won't be nearly as easy to manipulate into getting surgery with some BS reasoning about whatever successful men are apparently attracted to. The fact that he was with a woman who didn't meet those requirements naturally kinda just shows you that he's not, by his own definition, a successful man. So congrats on failing, Doc. He's a career sociopath who wanted a trophy wife that he could control and mold. You, a senior citizen military veteran, can handle my hyperactive 7-year-old? Be my guest. This happened years ago with myself, a friend, my then boyfriend, and his daughter. We couldn't do much for toys for this particular Christmas, but our family was nominated for an event called Shop with a Veteran. It's where kids get to go in a Walmart with a veteran and can pick out their own Christmas gifts with a set amount of money donated by civilians and other veterans. The thing is, only the veteran can go in with them. I had later found out it was because some parents had earlier tried to persuade their kids to get things that were more catered to the parents or another kid instead of the kid who was nominated. My boyfriend's daughter was diagnosed with severe ADHD and had taken her medication, but she had gotten very excited when she found out about going to get Christmas gifts of her choosing. We found the lady hosting and explained to her about the daughter's ADHD and how she can be a whirlwind when she gets excited and how she doesn't like to listen to people she doesn't know. When we explained to the lady hosting the event that one of us should go in with his daughter just to make sure that she behaved, she understood and talked to the veteran who was going to do the shopping with her. He immediately argued, claiming he was tired of parents wanting to pressure their kids into getting things they didn't want, and he wanted the daughter to have a good time picking out her gift. The lady tried to explain the situation, but the veteran wouldn't hear any of it. I can clearly remember him grumbling at us, "I've been to war. I can handle a kid." Well, in that case, after the veteran took the daughter into the store, we saw two friends going in who we didn't know would be there, but they were happy to see them. My boyfriend caught up with them and asked one of them if they could keep an eye on the daughter and the veteran. My boyfriend then emphasized that the veteran clearly thought he could handle his daughter, so let him handle her. We waited for about an hour when the veteran returned with the daughter. She was grinning ear to ear at all the presents she was able to get. The veteran looked exhausted and like he had been through heck. He then yelled at us that the daughter was the most disrespectful brat he had ever met. How she had to touch all the toys and threw everything she wanted into the shopping cart, and she was a nightmare when he told her she couldn't have everything she picked out. My boyfriend packed his daughter's gifts in the car and then took her back inside to start our grocery shopping. We couldn't do it while she was in there with the veteran because we had to wait outside for when they were done so we could immediately take her and her gifts. Understandable, they weren't babysitters. I decided to talk to the veteran and told my boyfriend that I'd meet him inside. I asked him if he was okay. He said he was fine, but why didn't we tell him our daughter was crazy? I promptly corrected him by saying she was not crazy. I explained her ADHD to him and how we only wanted to go in with them so she would behave. We know that she knows to behave around us, school, and grandma's house, how she doesn't like to listen to strangers, even if we know them and she doesn't. I apologized and told him that not all parents want to go in to use this as an excuse to get their own gifts. Some genuinely just want to make sure their kids behave. Later in the store, our friend caught up with us and told us everything that had happened. The daughter had run up and down the toy aisles. She kept going back and forth from the toys to the cart, throwing in anything she could get her hands on. She even screamed at the veteran when he put some of the toys back. Typical behavior when her normal authority figures aren't watching. When she was satisfied with the toys she did get, she kept asking for candy at the checkout, which she asks anyone for when we go to the store. It was amusing to us that a grizzled military veteran was outmatched by a hyperactive 7-year-old. Since then, we've been better off, and we donate money to this event every year, and even toys for any toy drive they have. The veteran still does the event, but he's more understanding when certain kids need their parents with them. He does get the odd, pushy parent now and then, but he handles them rather than flat out denies all parents going in. I took my nephew to Toys R Us once. It was a nightmare. I had no experience with kids. Logic did not work. Asserting authority did not work. Threats did not work. Bribes didn't work. Tantrums were fierce. We could not exit the place without a full meltdown. I could not negotiate the highs and lows he was experiencing. We thought it would be a fun visit. It was terrible. Never again. The nephew did not have ADHD, just a normal kid who probably needed his parents in that environment. Am I the jerk for telling my husband's kids, who are 24 and 22, that my house isn't their family home? I married my husband 2 years ago. He has 2 kids, a daughter who's 24 and a son who's 22. He had a very nasty divorce from their mom that was fought out over the course of years. Part of the reason for the marriage ending was that she had an addiction problem and blew through their savings and was running up the credit cards he didn't know about to pay for it. The divorce finalized when the youngest was 16. She wanted the house in the divorce, which was a big part of the fight. She ended up getting it. She immediately moved in her addict boyfriend and another couple that they used with, and the house ended up getting destroyed and falling into foreclosure, and then they proceeded to squat in it and had to be forcibly removed. Because my husband and his ex ended up also having to file bankruptcy, he had been living in a friend's basement when I met him due to his credit being wrecked. Fast forward, we are married, he moves into my house, got a prenup. He can't be on the mortgage due to his credit anyway. His ex and kids are living with grandparents. His kids and his ex don't like me. They refer to me as that jerk, but at this point, they are all adults, so I'm not going to force anything on them. Grandparents recently had to sell their home and they're now living with their mom's friends. They asked if they could move in with us, and I said no. Both got angry and started telling me that this was their dad's home, and that makes this their family home too, and it wasn't up to me if they could live here or not. They started spouting off every insult they could think of. I interrupted them and told them it was in fact not their family home, and if they were looking for their family home, they need to go talk to their mom because she chopped it up and put it up her nose, and that wasn't my problem. A huge part of the reason I don't want them here is that their mom has since squatted at multiple places, forcing roommates to have to threaten her with eviction to get her out, and basically told the last one she would leave for a certain amount of money. The kids and her are very close, and I don't want that happening in my house. We also have reason to believe the oldest may be using. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Get cameras for your house in case you don't have them already, just to be safe. I can't believe they talk to you like that, but then expect to move in. No way. Am I the jerk for telling my mother-in-law to take her darn cookies and get out of my house? My twin daughters are both 18 and they took their SAT last month. The results came back yesterday. One of my daughters, Laura, did very well. She got a 1540 and is very proud, as she should be. Her sister, Emily, didn't do so well. She got somewhere in the low 1300s, and I know that this is still not a bad score at all. But she worked very hard for the test and was really disappointed with her score. She has always struggled more with schoolwork than her sister, who does better without having to try as hard. Not to minimize any effort, Laura does work hard as well, but it does come a bit easier for her. My mother-in-law has always favored Laura, mostly because she does better in school. She won't show it very obviously, but in little ways. For example, she makes them a birthday cake most years and always writes Laura's name bigger and first. Emily resents this a bit, but doesn't mind too much as they rarely see their grandma. Only Laura regularly video calls with her and my husband. My mother-in-law called yesterday to ask the girls how they did. Emily said she didn't want to talk to her. She told me, not my mother-in-law, so I only gave the phone to Laura. Laura said her score, and her grandma congratulated her excitedly. My mother-in-law then asked Laura how Emily did. Laura said Emily did all right. When I got the phone back, my mother-in-law asked if she could come visit tomorrow to congratulate Laura. I said, let me check quickly if anything else is happening tomorrow, and I asked Emily if her grandma can come over to celebrate the results. Emily said that was fine, so I told my mother-in-law she could come over. My husband was at work when she came over. She brought a box of cookies and gave it to Laura, saying she was proud. Emily was standing there too and looked hurt. I asked if she had brought anything for Emily. She laughed a little and said not this time, but she'll make even better cookies when Emily does her retest. No one told her she was retesting. My mother-in-law just assumed. Emily went upstairs and I think she was crying. So I told my mother-in-law very sharply that she can take her darn cookies and get out. She was shocked and angry, but she left. Laura is also upset because she says she earned it and I'm ruining her relationship with her grandma. My husband says I had no right. Am I the jerk? I think you should sit your kids down together and separately explain. Grandma's favoritism is not okay. Someone who does better at school is not better as a person. Explain to both Laura and Emily that someone may simply do better at school, but this does not in any way mean they will be more or less successful in life. And explain to Laura how Grandma's actions made Emily feel. Also explain to Emily that Laura can and should be proud of her achievements, and that lastly, if Emily worked really hard, that's all you can ask for. Buy both of your daughters cookies, not the jerk. As a twin myself, and the Laura in this situation, you're the jerk. Laura speaks to her grandmother more often and has a closer relationship with her. Fact. Laura had better results. Fact. Her grandmother wanted to celebrate Laura, and you took that away. If you're not careful, Laura will grow up and continue to foster the relationship with her grandmother who celebrates her success, instead of the mother who refuses to celebrate her for fear of upsetting Emily. Emily will have to get used to her score and her options in life. That's reality, and you're not helping her manage that. I understand why you were upset with your mother-in-law, as she wasn't very compassionate in this situation, but I urge you to look at the way you're dealing with your kids. Treating them exactly the same now is setting Emily up for failure and Laura up for resentment. You're the jerk. Sounds like Laura makes more effort to be in Grandma's life, and Grandma returns the effort with her. If Emily wants to be loved the same, maybe she should put some effort forward too. You don't get to ignore Grandma and then cry when Grandma favors someone that does. Am I the jerk for refusing to have a fully child-free wedding? So I recently proposed to my long-term girlfriend, and we're planning for a wedding in summer next year. Everything is still very early stages. My fiancé has expressed that she wants a child-free wedding, which I'm down for, but I want to make one exception, my son who's 15. I had him from a previous relationship, and we have evenly split custody of him. Until now, my fiancé has gotten along great with him. We've had days out as a family. She's gone to see his games. He plays ice hockey, and she's even taken him out on fun days, just the two of them. I brought up that I wanted to make an exception to the no kids rule for my son. She shot down the idea straight away and said that she didn't want anyone under 16 there, as she doesn't want to feel like she or anyone else has to babysit on her special day. I told her that no one would have to babysit him. He's 15, and she knows he's well behaved and a generally quiet kid. She then changed her reasoning and asked why I wanted my old family and life on the day I was supposed to be making a commitment to her and our new family. I told her while I will be making a commitment to her, my son will still very much be my son and my family. She then equated it to wanting my ex at our wedding, which I do not want and never asked. I told her that I don't care about the aesthetics of the wedding and that she can pick everything else, the food, the aesthetic, the music, the dress, but all I want is my family at the wedding, my parents, my sisters, and my son. This is my only ultimatum when it comes to our wedding. She started calling me controlling by giving me an ultimatum and said I had initially agreed to a child-free wedding and now I'm gaslighting her. I said we can have a mainly child-free wedding, but with this one exception, an exception that guests can't even complain about being unfair since the only kid is the son of the groom. She called me a jerk and is now not talking to me. I really think this is a reasonable want, but maybe I'm not seeing something. So, am I the jerk? Wow, she doesn't want your own kid to come to your own wedding? And not a crying baby or a terrible 2-year-old, but a 15-year-old? A kid that will be old enough to drive next year when the wedding is? If this goes on as she wants, do you think your kid won't remember? Sorry, bud. This is all kinds of evil stepmother red flags. The whole thing about you making a new commitment to her and her family and equating having your son there to having your ex-wife there. Get out now while you just have to eat the non-refundable deposits for this wedding. Save yourself and your kid a world of hurt. You would be the jerk if you marry this woman. Edit. You have never had a fight like this before because up to this point, she's been putting on a show. But now she's comfortable enough in this relationship to show you who she really is. My Karen wife won't let my mother come visit us for Christmas. My wife, my mom, and I have a huge point of contention when it comes to visits. We live about a 7-hour plane ride away from my mom, and there hasn't been a single visit in 5 years. My wife and my mom never had a great relationship. It wasn't too terrible, but just very different people, and they get on each other's nerves, so my wife doesn't want her to stay in the house. It makes me sad, but my wife feels the home needs to be a sanctuary, and no one who upsets her should be allowed to stay in her sanctuary, and I chose to support that. Her ideal visit would be my mom staying at a hotel and having designated visiting times. My mom says we can make our rules, But we can't seriously expect her to put her time and effort into traveling to stay at a hotel. I also understand that train of thought. My wife, however, thinks my mom owes it to our kids to make the effort. My mom says my wife is selfish for expecting her to sacrifice her time, effort, and peace of mind just to be treated like a burden. I've told my wife to leave it alone. I called my mom recently to talk, and my wife came over and began making digs about how the kids don't recognize my mom and were asking if I actually have parents. My mom said my wife needed to leave the conversation or she was going to hang up. My wife said it's so sad that my mom won't just come and see her grandkids because she feels entitled to stay in our house. I just snapped and told my wife that she needs to stop acting entitled to my mom's time, energy, the money it would take to visit, and that she's the entitled one. My mom began laughing and my wife looked devastated. I quickly hung up and I tried to talk it out with my wife, but she was furious and said I broke a cardinal rule of marriage by calling her out in front of my mom. I do get that, but I've given her my opinion in private so many times. Oh, there's so much more to this story. Your mom didn't just get relegated to a hotel for nothing. How long does she expect to stay? I've had relatives come visit for 4 to 5 weeks at a time in a small house. After the last visit, I said nope, hotel. The visit ends terribly when it's that long. Having so many adults crammed in a small space for too long isn't pleasant for anyone. I think it's completely reasonable for your wife to ask your mom to stay in a hotel. Visit all day together, but retire to separate places to decompress. I also think it's sad that your mom doesn't come to visit her grandkids. I'm team wife all the way. You're the jerk. My wife feels the home needs to be a sanctuary, and no one who upsets her should be allowed to stay in her sanctuary. This is an eminently reasonable approach. But you are the reason your mom does not see your kids. You could take them and visit her. So your wife is right. You and your mom are not interested enough to make it happen. You're the jerk. Typical mama's boy who refuses to support his wife when it comes to his mama. If I were your wife, this crap would so not fly with me. I'd kick you out in a heartbeat and file for divorce. It doesn't matter what the argument is about. As a good husband, you're supposed to support your wife no matter what. Especially when it comes to entitled in-laws like your mother, who honestly sounds insufferable. Is it your mom's house? No. So why should she get to come and stay there whenever she wants against your wife's wishes? Selfish little man babies like you do not deserve to be married, period. Both of my ex-husbands ended up being mama's boys, and look where that got them. Divorced and both paying me alimony for many years to come. Bottom line, want to keep a beautiful woman? Stop choosing your mom over her. Grow up and be a man. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for accepting my family's Christmas invitation despite my husband being upset? I, female 32, met this wonderful man, Philip, male 36, 2 years ago. We got married 4 months ago. For context, I have a 10-year-old son, Billy, from my previous relationship, and my ex isn't in the picture. I have to admit that Philip's relationship with my family isn't so great. They would disagree on a lot of things. For example, he had an argument with my dad when he said that he was keeping their grandson away from them, but Philip stated he wasn't, and that he couldn't visit with Billy because he had work. I was sick at the time. The latest argument was what made things worse. My mom and sister were discussing natural remedies, they're into this stuff, for my niece, and Philip, he's a pediatrician, called both of them ignorant for not using meds instead, which caused a huge argument and Philip being no longer welcomed at my parents' house. Now, they sent me and Billy an invitation for Christmas, but did not include Philip, which I expected given how strained their relationship has become. I called my mom to confirm that I'll attend, but the minute Philip found out, he went off saying he could not believe I was fine with my family excluding him, and then agreed to go and leave him behind. I told him it's their celebration, and I don't get to decide their guest list for them. And also, I'm not leaving him behind because he did not have any plans for Christmas. He said he thought that we would automatically celebrate together, the three of us, but now I'm taking Billy away from him as well. I thought that was a bit melodramatic because it's literally just a few hours at my parents' home, but he insisted it was about principle and respect. We had a big argument, and I said that he basically alienated himself by continually picking arguments with my family, and he started ranting, saying it wasn't about the fact that they didn't invite him,
but the fact that I was willing to let him spend Christmas alone without me and Billy. We went back and forth on the issue, but did not seem to reach a solution. My parents are used to spending every major holiday with Billy, so you can see how much pressure I'm getting from both sides here. You're the jerk. He's your husband and he's done nothing wrong. 1. Your dad picked a fight because he had to work and you didn't defend him. 2. You're encouraging your mom to be an idiot and not be knowledgeable on medications and wanting to do natural healing. And when your husband, as a medical professional, stated the facts, you let them be terrible to him. You think it's okay to leave your husband alone on Christmas because they're being horrible to him. And I'd be upset too that you're not doing anything to defend him when he's done nothing wrong. You're taking their side, and in doing so, it shows that you don't care for your husband. Keep this up, and he will leave. Maybe Mom can calm the situation down with some lavender oil. How are you not outraged that your parents left your husband out of the invitation to spend Christmas with them? And how could you possibly contemplate leaving your husband alone at Christmas? Do you actually want to be married to him? You accepted an invitation which excludes him, and you think this is reasonable? You're the jerk. You're the jerk. You're right. You don't get to decide their guest list for them. However, you do get to decide whether or not to spend Christmas with your husband. Every married couple I know would automatically expect to spend Christmas together. Not the jerk. Your husband had no right to talk to your parents like that. He's a fraudster who capitalizes off the pharmaceutical industry. I can't tell you how many so-called doctors have told me that my kids need to be on all that crap. I tell them the same thing every time. God put us on this world thousands of years ago, and we never needed this stuff before. Why the heck would we need it now? Oh yeah, we don't. You just want to line your pockets by taking advantage of me and my family. Son having seizures? Oh, he needs to be on these 3 different medications, which will run you $1,000 a month. Daughter's blood sugar too high? Oh, she needs to be on this and that, which costs $700 a month, and test her glucose every 12 hours. When did people stop trusting in the power of prayer and decide to fall victim to the lies of these fraudsters? I feed my kids natural diets, which consists mostly of fruits and veggies. You'd be surprised how many high-quality fruits and veggies are now sold at the dollar store. Don't believe all the organic nonsense. Any fruits and veggies are 1,000 times better than the crap they feed your kids at school. This is also part of why I homeschool all 6 of my kids. I refuse to allow them to be taught the false, his story that is taught in schools now. I teach my kids the truth of how we got here, what our purpose is, the light work that we were put here to do. I teach them that they are in fact star seeds who are here to change the world. 5 of my 6 kids are indigo children, and 1 is not an indigo, unfortunately. He also doesn't look a thing like his siblings, which really was a disappointment to me. He gets angry every time I tell him that even though he's not special like the others, he can still make a difference in the world. It just won't be as powerful as his siblings. He's the one that doctors told me needs to be on antidepressants, and I tell them every time that no, he doesn't need that. He's just disappointed that he's not an indigo, and he has to accept it. I can tell they look down on me for my beliefs, which is unfortunate since so many are awakening to the light. In truth, love, and light, namaste. And this is why I believe that not everyone out there is cut out to be having kids. You can say that again. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. You spend Christmas with your spouse and your kid. In-laws inviting you but excluding them is way out of line. I don't think Philip's gonna be sticking around with her too much longer. My Karen roommate stole from me, so her wallet vanished. Back in college, I had better credit than my 3 other roommates, so I put our internet and TV under my name, otherwise the deposit would have been $600. The cable company offered me a $300 Visa gift card upon sign-up. 2 months later, I called them because the gift card never arrived. They tell me that they sent it a few weeks ago, and eventually I'm able to find out from Visa that someone used it at the Whataburger, Target, and liquor store near my house. I'm ticked off because obviously one of my roommates had used it, but I didn't know which one. A few weeks later, roommate number 2 complains that their $200 birthday gift card to Target has gone missing. His mom still had the receipt, and the store was able to tell her that someone used it at the Target near our house. He's obviously ticked off too, but we've now realized it's probably one of the other 2 roommates. A couple of weeks after that, roommate number 3's wallet disappears. We turn the house upside down looking for it,
and we knew it had to be in the house because her car key is attached to her wallet and her car is parked at the house. She is absolutely frantic, sobbing, screaming, hyperventilating, etc., throwing crap everywhere and just having an absolute meltdown while tearing the house apart. We had never seen her behave like this, so we're all kind of surprised she'd be that upset about her wallet. It's stressful, sure, but I genuinely was concerned about how she was reacting. She says the gift card thief must have taken it, implying that it's roommate number 4, the only person who hasn't had something stolen yet. A few days after that, I found her wallet in the trunk of my car. We had gone to get groceries together, and I guess she had just laid it in the trunk while we were unloading. I'm like, "Whoa, I found your wallet." And then I open it up because I'm just excited to confirm that I did indeed find her wallet. Bam! Both stolen gift cards front and center. No doubt. The Visa gift card has my name printed on it, and roommate number 2's mom had written something in Sharpie on his gift card. I realized she had a meltdown because she was afraid we'd find out that she was the thief. I left the wallet, cash and all, right where it was, pushed up against the inner lip of the trunk so you couldn't see it unless you leaned further into the car. A locksmith wouldn't make her new keys without the title, and the title was in the glove box of her locked car. All in all, she spent about $500 replacing her driver's license, title, and keys, not to mention not being able to drive her car for 2 weeks. I moved out of state with her wallet still in my car, finally tossed it in the trash several months later. Sometimes the universe assists you with petty revenge. Sorry if you see this, Chelsea. It was me. This happened over 10 years ago, and I'm happy to report that we've all gone to therapy since then, and we're thankfully no longer terrible human beings. A couple of things to address. Why didn't you confront her? I hated confrontation. I was a huge people pleaser, and I wanted everyone to like me, and I enjoyed watching her suffer. Again, therapy. I'm thankfully no longer like this. Visa gift cards don't have names. Some of them do. The Target gift card itself said happy birthday, and my friend's mom wrote, "To my favorite son," underneath. It was still semi-legible when I found her wallet. Locksmiths don't make car keys. Apparently some do. In the end, she had her car towed to the dealership. I do remember she called a locksmith the first day her wallet was missing because she initially thought it was in her car. She was super mad that the locksmith charged her for the weekend visit without actually unlocking her car. Was he taking advantage of a stupid college kid? Maybe. This was over a decade ago. I was 21, and I'm sure that my brain did not fully absorb the details of her whole ordeal. Turn her into the cops. Bro, have you met college students? Do you know how much illegal stuff they do? It briefly crossed my mind, but petty revenge was far more satisfying. She had an absolute meltdown and missed a few days of work at a newish job dealing with all of this. Am I the jerk for telling my son's pregnant girlfriend that if she keeps disrespecting me, I'll kick her out of my house? I, 43 female, have a son who's 18, who got his high school girlfriend, who was also 18, pregnant. It was obviously an unplanned pregnancy, and it resulted in my son's girlfriend getting kicked out of her house by her mom. I never liked the girl, but I obviously couldn't let her live on the streets now that she's carrying my grandbaby, so I let her live in our house. Now both she and my son gave up on college for the near future, and my son is now working a full-time job so he can provide for them in the future. The problem is that his girlfriend refuses to do anything, absolutely anything all day. She just locks herself in my son's room eating snacks and watching videos on my son's computer. I need to drag her out to just help me with cooking and to clean up at least the room she's staying in. But she's always complaining about how I'm working her like a slave, even though she's already in constant pain because of her pregnancy, and then she'll come crying to my son about the treatment of her. Mind you, she doesn't have a high-risk pregnancy. I know that because my husband and I are the ones who are fully paying for her medical controls, and I don't put her up to do tasks like cleaning the toilet or anything similar. However, she really crossed the line when after I got dressed up, she asked me where I was going, and I told her I was getting ready for church. Her exact response was, "I didn't know there were churches that allowed people to dress the way that you are." At that point, I absolutely had it with her, and I told her straight up that I don't care who she is. I won't allow her to disrespect me while living in my house, and if she can't keep her attitude in check, then she can get out of my house. She pretty much started crying at that point and immediately called my son, who later on also gave me an attitude for treating his girlfriend like garbage when I don't know what she's going through. I roll. My husband also thinks that while she was definitely out of line, that she was probably only acting out because of pregnancy hormones, and that I could have handled the situation better without straight up threatening to leave her homeless. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You should make it clear to your son that his girlfriend needs to earn her keep ASAP. Not the jerk. She needed the wake-up call. You're all she has. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. You called your son who later gave you attitude? Son also needs a firm reminder of who is doing whom the favors. Not the jerk. Keep your word of kicking her out if she's disrespecting you again. You're paying for everything. She's not being mistreated. Pregnancies do not cause enabling pain, and she can at least make the bed. Not the jerk. But why is everyone siding against the pregnant mom in this story? Oh yeah, that's right, because it's not the husband calling her out for her bad behavior. When the husband or boyfriend is the one calling her out for this type of behavior, you all tell him he's in the wrong and she's carrying his baby and he needs to step up. Just another day on Reddit, I guess. Same punishment for being 5 minutes late as being 3 hours late? Sure, no problem. So I'm working for a low-level corporation, about 450 employees. I've been there for 5 years, and I've risen to the top of my department's productivity levels. I mention this as it does pertain to the story. Management had a policy that latecomers would be penalized, but that lateness could be excused under some circumstances. I was good at my job, and I actually loved doing it, so I was more or less a dream employee. I always showed up to work 20 to 30 minutes early because I liked to sit in the lunchroom and prepare for my day. Management knew I was almost always early, so if I was late from time to time, which was rare, they'd let it slide as there was always a valid reason. Now, for some other employees, this latitude wasn't applied. Chronically late employees would get written up and not have their constant lateness excused. They'd complain, of course, but management was firm. They ran an actual meritocracy where more productive employees would experience preferential treatment. Then the business gets sold and we get new management. An international corp only interested in buying us up, stripping us down, and selling off the company. They denied this constantly, but the fact that over the next 2 years they stripped us down and sold off the company proved they were lying. New management comes in and has to make a bunch of idiotic changes. One of those changes is that no reasons for being late are accepted, regardless of validity. Anyone 5+ minutes late for work would be written up. So at the team meeting where this is explained, I asked, so if someone is 5 minutes late and someone else is 3 hours late, the punishment is the same? And they said yes. From that day on, I stopped coming in early. I'd still head to work at my usual time, but I sat in a local coffee shop instead of my work's lunchroom. This meant that my work missed out because in the past I would often help out by answering questions, even start work early if needed. Because I loved my job and the old management were wonderful people. No more of that under new management. In fact, if something happened, like unexpected traffic, and I was going to end up a few minutes late, I'd just say, oh well. If being 3 hours late is the same punishment as 5 minutes late, I'd just decide to come in later. I'd call work to tell them I was delayed, then go out and have a leisurely meal in a restaurant, or run some personal errands, go shopping, even see a movie, etc. Depending on my mood and how crappy the new management had been lately, what would have been, say, a 7-minute lateness on my part ended up seeing me roll in 3 hours late. Sure, it cost me a few bucks, but I made almost as much in bonuses as I did in hourly salary, so missing out on a few hours here and there didn't bother me too much. I'd come in 3 or 4 hours late, and my new bosses would be fuming. Nothing they could do, though, but write me up for the basic tardy, same as they would do if I had been 5 minutes late. Father spoke for his son the entire time. Son ended up coming back to apologize for his father's behavior. I worked at a sporting goods store about 1.5 years ago. It was a fun job. I mostly worked a few hours per week since I had another job doing retail at that time. I mostly worked in the baseball section since baseball is my favorite sport. I had a good time overall until I had to quit when I went off to college. One day, a dad and his son, who was 14 if I remember right, came into the store and were checking out all the new gear for the season. I asked his son his position, what level he plays at, and what hand he throws with. The dad answers for him, kinda snobbishly. He plays elite travel ball, he's a right-handed shortstop. I thought nothing of it at first. I played travel ball and I know the bat's allowed, and also know the types of parents that get their kids into it. So I take him to the gloves first. He grabs a lower-priced infield glove, maybe $170 or so. It's the glove I use, so I recommended it to him. It's really a great glove. Then the dad sees the $300 A2000 and says, "We'll take this one," before his son even tried it on. I could tell his son was not thrilled, and this was probably not his first rodeo with his dad making choices for him. Then we move over to the bats. Now this is where things get a bit interesting. I ask his son his height, and his dad again answers. I recommend a bat size, and they browse for a bit. His son follows my recommendations and picks out one that he likes. Again, not the most expensive, but it does look cool. Honestly, at his age, the bat doesn't make much of a difference since regulations are tight on what's allowed in the league anyway. His dad then picks up a bat 2 inches too big for his son. He should be swinging a 31 inch. He might be able to get away with a 32 if he's strong, but a 33, what his dad picked up, is too big for his son until he hits a growth spurt. I explained this to the dad. He didn't care. He just wanted the most expensive bat. It was kind of clear to me that it was not even about his son at this point. It was about the dad gearing him up to appear better than the other kids. I'm still trying to explain to his dad, from my own personal experience being a smaller kid, that a large bat is not the best idea for him. His dad says, "I know what's best." His son looked upset, and I felt bad for him. I could tell he was passionate about baseball. He was not in it to look cool, but genuinely did research on what's best for his use case. The products he gravitated towards were all great for him. The last thing before they got cleats, out of my department, is batting gloves. His son asks me which gloves I like to use, so I go to tell him before the father cuts me off and says, "These ones look good." Guess what? They had the highest price tag as well. They're great gloves, but it's not worth the extra price in my opinion. They walk away to get the cleats and ring out with me. Their total was hundreds more than it had to be, and the son did not even get to pick out what he wanted. He came in a few weeks later with his older brother to get another bat since the one his dad picked up for him was too big. Him and his brother were both very grateful for my help, and they apologized for their father. I talked to him a bit about baseball, and he really was just in it for fun. He told me his dad puts a lot of pressure on him and spends tons of money for him to get a spot on the expensive travel team, but he just wants to go out there and have fun with his friends. He also told me that the pressure has made him think about quitting. He said, "I love baseball, I really do, but my dad wants me to be the best, and I'm not that. I just want to have fun with my team." I gave him a pat on the shoulder, and I told him he's the best player he can be. Looked to his older brother, who told him the same thing. Not gonna lie, I got a bit emotional after they left. That moment has stuck with me for over a year now, and it really does suck how much parents dump money into their kids' sports instead of just letting them play and have fun. In my time working there, I have seen lots of parents similar to his father, only wanting the most expensive products, while not even critically questioning if those products are the best ones to buy for their use case. Am I the jerk for telling my wife I don't want to live more in line with my wealth and social status? I've been with my wife since university. We've been together for 14 years, married for 8. My practice has been doing very well, and I do have joint finances with my wife. We have recently been arguing more about money. I'm a frugal person when it comes to things like materialistic items. I'm all for spending on trips and adventures, and we do so often. I just despise spending money on items that overly show my wealth. My wife has made claims that it's unfair and embarrassing that we live the way we do. She wants to be more in line with her friends. I've told her countless times that it's simply not my style. I'm fine with what we have. I don't need to show off or prove something to others. I do understand, and I see that people do talk about us, but I just don't care. Should I have listened to my wife's pleas and given her the finer things, so to speak, so she would feel more included or less of an outcast? Edit. Thanks for the replies and insight. I will speak with her in the morning and try to come up with a compromise. Maybe I'll suggest she can go back to work part-time. I'll still cover every joint expense, and the money she gets from work she can use however she sees fit. Edit. I didn't expect this to blow up. I've been given a lot of time to think about it, and I've been enjoying the discussion that's being had. This sounds like me and my husband. My husband is very frugal. He's more interested in the utilitarian aspect of things. I like pretty shiny things. It actually works when you realize it's a good thing to let the other partner have their way once in a while. My husband makes sure I don't run our finances into the ground with my extravagant tastes, and I make sure he doesn't drive around in a car that looks like a piece of junk. Going to tell you right now that you have 2 choices you will be facing very shortly. 1, you give in to your wife's materialistic desires and spend more money. Or 2, your wife will divorce you and take half of what you own so she can live the life she wants. You're not the jerk for wanting to be frugal, but be careful here. You're very close to losing half of your stuff. These comments are just dense. Not the jerk, but your wife is. If she wants a luxurious lifestyle, she can get a job and pay for it. I'm sorry, but expecting your partner to provide unnecessary luxury items is ridiculous. This would be a great post to swap the genders on and see the moral outrage. So after reading all of OP's comments in this thread, here's what we know. 1, they do not have kids, nor do they plan to. 2, she stopped working at the start of lockdown and she doesn't want to go back to work. 3, she spent $15,000 shopping last month. 4, they live in a safe home in a diverse community. She says she feels unsafe but won't elaborate on why. Decent chance she's a jerk. And 5, she forces him to wear her hand-picked outfits when they hang out with her friends. At best, she's a lazy gold digger. At worst, she's a manipulative, controlling jerk. The truth is probably in the middle. Not the jerk, and OP losing half of his crap would totally be worth it to divorce. No one sucks here, but here's the thing. Neither is wrong, but neither is right. Your wife deserves some nice things, and you deserve to have savings. You guys need to make compromises. My husband and I are getting ready to move. We're working on compromises of his desire for a really nice home versus my desire for a frugal home. I feel you, I really do. I'm working on realizing that he deserves nice, and so do I. I wonder if part of my issue is that I don't feel I deserve nice because I had a bad upbringing. So my question is this: why do you think you should live in a poverty lifestyle when you make a decent amount of money? OP: because I don't mind it, to be honest. I've been to my friends' houses, and if I'm being honest, it doesn't feel like a home. I prefer the more homely feel of a modest house. I don't need people to know that I have money. I'm happy with what we have. It's okay to have a modest home, but if your home is like your car, it's not a modest home. It's a falling apart home. OP: my car is also not falling apart. Just because it's older does not mean that it's a junker. Not sure where you got that our home is falling apart, but it's not. What is the average life expectancy of the car that you have, and roughly how long until you achieve that? What are some of the expected failures and repair costs associated with it? Would you be able to compromise in purchasing a used luxury vehicle? Look, there's a reason this guy has the money he does and you guys don't. You're foolish. Not the jerk. First off, I'm female, and I've had a long and successful career in marketing. In my world, my colleagues and I are open and honest with each other about things that you'd never hear us say in mixed company, and that Reddit probably won't want to hear. The truth is that most marketing campaigns are geared towards women because they are generally more easily converted into customers than men are. I could write a thesis about this stuff, but I'll spare you the boredom. The main reason why is because of how our brains operate and the reward factor of obtaining something new. It's a biological thing that goes way back into our history as humans. Men typically feel more rewarded when they accomplish something, whereas women feel more accomplished when they obtain something. Even most of the campaigns I've worked on that target male customers target their desire to attract women. Fitness, finance, real estate, vehicles, etc. Edit: wow, I knew some of you would be upset about this, but some of you are taking it to the next level. Okay, guess I'm wrong then. The person with CMO of $1 billion company on their resume is totally wrong, and all you Redditors are right. Sure. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know.
If you're frugal and you like to not waste money on unnecessary expenses, don't marry someone who's very materialistic. It totally won't be worth it. There's a book called The Millionaire Next Door. It explains how most millionaires in America, you would never know that they're millionaires because they don't show it off. And most of the people out there who think it's important to keep up with the Joneses, they're spending beyond their means, and it's just not a smart thing to do. They really should teach more about financial education in high school.
Well, Karen, there's a reason that our system is designed this way. If more people knew how to manage their finances effectively, they wouldn't waste money on things they don't need, and corporate profits would plummet.
Stop telling me the depressing truths of reality and read the next story.
Imagine your best friend has a baby and demands that you babysit all the time, that you give up your hopes and dreams to raise their baby. That's exactly what happens in our next video. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap, come have a listen. Karen and I are already waiting.